few minutes. Not to sound a certain way, but yeah, to have a healthy self-esteem and ego, even if just briefly. How could anyone just take a few minutes of this? Don't mind that silliness. But you know what? It's good to think positively of ourselves. In a world where it can be easy to not do so, of ourselves and others, truthfully, well, but mostly ourselves, we gotta try and think positively of each other. As much as I want to say, we all, forgiveness is great, and empathy and all that, and it's true. It's hard. It's hard. And I don't know exactly, for anybody who sees this after it's posted, I'll say, if you've never seen my content before, well, but nobody's here right now as I'm asking that question. But again, this is the first few minutes, and they might see it afterwards. But the question that I posed in the previous video, don't worry about if you haven't seen it yet, was interesting. This is interesting. Was initially, and I'd really love somebody to be here to hear me say it. It didn't paste because it was longer than it looked like in Notepad. And actually, some of that doesn't really need to be there. I'd forgotten to take it out. And if I do, just quickly, but you do. You need to be here in this life and in general. And on this podcast. Okay. Do I want to just do it in two? So I'm sorry that this is getting a bit of a slow start. I'm just going to put a couple of things in the chat. That mean or repetitive or whatever. And I'm going to do it in threes because third time's the charm, and it'll stand out more. And that's the whole thing about standing out in life. If nothing else, I know, who knows what I feel later. And I might say, oh, I don't know, I ate celebration cookies and I sent you a couple of things. Other than that, it kind of be the second week in a row. And then that YouTube thing in the middle there. But I don't know if I'm ready to kind of address the topic of standing out or judgment, but I guess we'll see if they work their way into this. Speaking of, let me just quickly look. And it was ironic that it was a cookie one. It may not have been the one I most wanted to see, but that I emailed my brother, but yeah, well, that pizza's gonna finish up. Otherwise, it's gonna be dry and no good. But I will say it's true that my stomach. I do like the title I came up with. Kind of happened, as they do often. But sometimes I put a bit more thought to it, but usually not much. But that's fine. It's not that they aren't good, right? I hope you agree. I will admit that I'm being a little bit distracted by my stomach. Well, not really my stomach, just kind of general hunger. I really haven't eaten much. And I'm not sure. Yeah, but it's probably good that I keep that money in case of emergency. and I don't have a lot of it. So, like I say, so I thought of an interesting question. I asked myself, I'll ask it here. How would you, and it is in the chat. I almost wanted, because I just did a pretty long podcast and now I'm doing this one. I'd almost, and the viewer left. I'll just say, because I haven't expressed this yet, I'll just say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And if we're talking about judgment, like, I mean, I'm a little bit uncertain. I have two questions for our viewers, one of which I've answered for myself, one of which I haven't, but might. But I'd rather, I think I would. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm just going to kind of channel into something for a moment. Linda says, well, I know what I would say. She says, I don't know if you want to hear it from me or your friend or other loved ones. I mean, let me rephrase that. I know you want to hear it. But whether it was the answer you gave yourself or the answer that we give you, I understand you're going to feel like we're putting that in. We're what an artistic or abstract way to say it. We're planting the seeds you want somebody else to plant. Where we'd be growing and blossoming the flower when you want somebody else to grow and blossom first. And my friend is saying, that I know that you don't mean for these to be all about you. If you did, you wouldn't do them, probably, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, sure, there is a large part of them that is my thoughts, my feelings, my, versions of songs, my this and my that. It's what I bring to the table, but it's as a content creator, it'd be silly to say, and I wouldn't agree with it, that this isn't, my content isn't just for me. It's for those that view it and wish to chat on it as well. In curiosity, kindness, love, like it's. She wants to give me a high five. She's like, and I get that. But right now there's nobody here. And I think it's kind of interesting, as I'm sure you do too. She says that I'd like to share a couple of things that I've had happen when doing creative work. Now, and I talk about this quite often, and any questions feel, I don't know. Again, it's best when it's organic. It's best when, things aren't forced, and you got to just let the gifted person use the gift they have. Don't try and presume what's important and what's not, because you might then miss out on getting what truly is. So it's happened a couple times in songwriting, but it's been a while. Actually, no, it hasn't. Just a few days ago, I had an instant inspiration for a song. I have no lyrics for it. I was watching a bit of a playlist that was kind of connected to the culture, but I don't know what I'd be doing with the lyrics. I'd like to maybe get some idea as to what to do, and then we can figure out the instrumentation. In fact, in the cell phone camera, I do have that recorded. But where I feel like my angels have helped me write it. It doesn't happen often. And the first time I ever felt Linda's presence, I was in podcast mode, and I kind of remember getting the feeling like, I almost got the feeling, even though this is our channel and I was posting it in the content, like I was also kind of a guest in it. Like I was, yeah, I was kind of in the backseat. She says, "No, you weren't." She's reminding me, "You were right there beside me in the passenger seat." She's like, "Why is that funny, dear?" No, I appreciate that, and I did feel that, I think, and yeah. She's like, "Great." But she's saying the other thing that transpired, and like I say, there was the device was not plugged in like I thought it was, and it died, and there was a person, or there was some activity along the top, and then somebody was briefly in chat, and I wished it had went further, but like I say, the device died. That's not going to happen this time, though. It is plugged in. But so the previous video was, well, I will say this, if you're curious whether you want to see part 2 or not, now that I've done it, I know that I said it was deep, and I said, sometimes we should experience the deep, and it's healing, and it's powerful, and may at times be uncomfortable, but it's, and but when I think about now that I've done it, I don't know if I would say it was all that deep. Parts of it were, and I mean, that's up for definition. It's true, but I don't know if I would, yeah. But anywho, and she had wanted to say, she certainly had me saying it to myself and was kind of saying it, but people were too quick to decide whether they wanted to stay and watch. Like a few seconds were a few seconds they stayed, is what I remember. That was before the other person came in, and I almost brought it back around to that, or we both did, but then the thing happened. But where I felt like, and welcome, I felt like she was wanting to say to our viewers, a friend of mine, she, and it happened just now too, the viewer left. I don't know if they, I mean, I think that it could be, I could just be saying something that somebody, that, and I maybe call it more of an acquaintance, but that somebody in my life has said, and I'm here relaying it. The person doesn't have to be in the room, but again, some people, they'll go with their quick initial thought, and that's what guides their decision. And they're thinking, and they may have been thinking, well, why don't you just let your friend say it then? Like, why do you have to speak for your friend? We hear you plenty, and I agree. I get sick of myself sometimes too. Just kidding. Well, I think all of us feel that. One thing I wanted to talk about in the previous video, and maybe I did a little bit, but I want to talk about in this video too, is the things that are very common experiences as people. Like, if we're talking about, people, the afterlife or whatever, Teresa's not wrong. There's only so many ways that somebody could die, But if we're talking about, yeah, I mean, the previous video, nobody's here at the moment. If anybody comes in afterwards, I'll take this opportunity to say this. You're welcome to comment other content of mine. I don't mind it in the live chat because I have it set to only display while live, because that's an option. Why, I don't know, but I know that sometimes I select it and it seems to make sense. but I have it set to only select while live. I do have the new feature, which I finally understand, also selected, which is a chat summary, although this is just recently started. And that's AI based. Well, AI may be right, they may be wrong. So, just like, any of us. So I don't mind if they come in during, but afterwards, I'd rather that we stay away from the topics of stuff. Just because this is a shared channel, and so the other person can get notification too. Don't want them worried. Don't want that. Yeah. But that being said, you're welcome to put comments that aren't as specific to that on this video or any of them. Okay, but and I really should eat something soon. But I don't like steak, and I eat plenty of cheese as it is. I don't know if the person that just tuned in is my friend who, and remember, who just finished dinner, or is somebody else. But would you mind if I had lunch while I'm doing this? Because I've only had a spoon of peanut butter, and I really feel like I want to do this, and someone's here, and they've been here for a few minutes, and but I need to be giving myself nourishment too. Mind, it might just be leftover pizza, which is just frozen, or pizza bites maybe, because I haven't figured out anything else. They're like, no, I don't want to see you masticate, aka chew and eat on screen. Remember, I have no filter foods, but anyway. But you know what? People should, try not to be too uptight. Let loose and enjoy life, and the free-spirited, silly people that we may encounter. I mean, we are all who we are, but we can all also grow. Because you know what? We all need the clowns or people that are playful and entertaining. They make life worthwhile. Wish this was still warm. I mean, seriously. And I think that's one of my callings. Now, I know that I thought of a second part to the question that I wanted to pose, but I kind of want to ask it before kind of getting into the other one. What I'll do is say that if you're seeing this after the fact, I'm going to ask you a question. I invite you to pause the video, put a comment, hopefully positive and kind. Sandwich method I might be okay with. But put a comment and let me know. Three things maybe. One, have you ever seen my content before? Two, what was it about that you saw? And three, whether you have or whether you haven't, in the moment. If this is the first video you've seen of mine and you've only watched 18 minutes of it, I do thank you. What is your impression of me? I'm just curious. At least I think I am. I kind of want to put this in the fridge. I mean, I knowing that I might eat on camera, I'd maybe put my hand in front of my mouth so you don't have to see me chewing. But I mean, we eat around people in our life. That's also something largely human. I mean, some people have I don't know if you call it eating soda or something where they don't like to do that as much. And that's not something I've ever thought about that deeply. But I do feel like I need, and it may not be the healthiest, or I may not eat a lot because the other leftovers I might want to save for dinner because I don't, and it's quick and it's easy and it needs to be tonight. But I'm just gonna go okay, so I asked that question. And I don't think I want to know curiously enough to ask again. But if you've answered that and then came back what I should have said, and it's only a couple minutes after that, and I would hope that it would be obvious in what you choose to do anyway, is hopefully you've then again pressed play to see the rest of this. In which case, I'm going to walk off the screen and off the but now my stomach is starting to gurgle. I've got the urge to gurgle. Should I bring this with me? Well, I plan to use the microwave, and it's a laptop, and there's a lot of stuff on the counter. So, and it's a shared device. It's old, but it works great. I would hate to drop it. And I know the other person that it belongs to would say, yeah, I'd hate for you to drop it too. So I'm going to drop that idea, put this in the fridge, get coffee. It kind of looks like online, just not by the one clip, but the other one, no. And the speaker is still there. What does that mean? Okay. It means it's suggesting I do a clip too. That must be a new feature. It's like, that way you can get kind of the variety, right, of the ways of communication. Written, in person. Clips of video make it feel a bit more kind of, like a different word, intimate, or like you're in the room with the person. And something I've kind of alluded to is that I channel my loved ones sometimes. Mostly I'm used to just channeling mine. And I think I did say a little bit about that earlier. And I guess our dog's used to, them being around. And it's interesting. And I get flash visuals sometimes. I just got one that is interesting. My one friend who was primarily a singer, she dabbled on guitar. When I was thinking of her a few moments ago, I was remembering that. She's standing over there with Linda at the piano. Actually, when I looked, I saw them there briefly, like it's a flash visual, like I say, and then Ray sat down. And Linda's kind of leaning on the books with a stack there with a smile on her face. And that worked out because our dog just went from that chair to that chair, which is kind of where I visualized Ray was sitting prior to that. And it seems like they're just giving me a bit of time before they come visit. Like Ray had said, she's just letting me know that she's here. She's communicated with me a few times recently, so that's good. I still feel bad for our loved ones that maybe don't sense or have this ability yet, that they can't. But again, it's a level of awareness, that we can all get to, or a vibration or whatever. But I do feel like Linda might want to say a bit more too. She just gave me a thumbs up and smiled, and I take that to mean yes, maybe, but that I'm doing okay as well. I can almost hear the piano. But of course, they're angel form, so it's a little bit different. A little bit, different than if we actually were. But that's the thing I so wish, that they could actually be physically here, because even having this gift, which I don't want people to think I'm saying I'm not thankful for, even having this channeling ability, the loved ones aren't here in the physical anymore and can never be until we pass away. And there's always things, no matter how hard life can be, there's almost always reasons to live. And I'd love, while I was getting myself some lunch, if one of them could come on screen and you'd be able to actually see them. Don't worry, it wouldn't be scary. They'd be semi-transparent. They'd otherwise look like they looked. I don't know whether I believe that angels have wings or not. I kind of do, and maybe that's because I'm kind of fallen into the mainstream belief. But I don't know whether I do or not. Maybe they take them. No, I don't know. Maybe it's optional. Maybe if they need, maybe once they arrive where they are going to visit, they take them off. And that's not meant to be a disturbing thought. It's just, they need them for flying, and then the wings are heavy. They carry the weight on their shoulders, but and they carry the weight that we carry. But as I've mentioned in past videos, I have learned the past year or two that even though they do feel, they don't feel to the same level that people do. And of course, that varies depending on the person. Does it vary depending on the angel? They still largely have their personalities. I do believe that to be true. But whether they were playing piano or on the screen, and why aren't you hearing it if it's really real? And I hear people ask sometimes, a medium, and I like to say, I want to do this for myself. I don't talk about anything. Oh, I have the openness to it. I have the willingness. Why not? I'm not sure if I have an answer for that at the moment. I'm not sure if I do. But I don't know if I want to ask that other question again. But I will say, even having this ability and it being fairly active at times, like lately, it's not to the level where I can hear them on the piano. It's not to the level where I can get them on the screen and know that you're going to see them. And I'm alone at home right now, except for the dog who's laying on that chair over there. Linda just came back over here and she says, they may not see me, but I could try and let them hear me if you want me to hold things down for a little bit. But I don't know if they'd hear you over the AC, unless I move just a little bit more centered, like on the marimba. I don't know. But yes, I'm kind of okay with the thought of seeing but not hearing for a few minutes here. What do I want the view to be? The plants, maybe? And kind of put it in between the two rooms so the AC is not too loud. One thing is, though, that this is still pretty much guided by me. And it's still pretty much guided by me, and my bladder's also guiding me. So there's also that. Hello, everybody. My name is Linda. I am an artist and mentor who's had the great pleasure in my life of meeting many lovely people, and in the afterlife as well, including the guy who's rolling this podcast. I know I'd love to answer his question and tell him what I think of him, and I think he'd like to hear it. But I also feel like he would say he really wants to answer. The question was not how do I feel about myself at first, as much as it was how do I feel about my life. How would I summarize my life up to this point? But they're both worthwhile questions, really. They're both worthwhile questions, and I invite you to answer them. I did put them in the chat. I'm just quickly doing a couple things off screen, but you will be able to hear me talk when I'm talking. But I put a question in the chat, and I'd really love to hear your answer on it, and then I'll give mine. Yeah, dear, I encourage that dialogue as well, but the person left, so Well, you can't keep them all, or maybe maybe they'll be back, as you know. Not believe in having them in most of it. She's singing along to what Rochelle is humming and playing. She just turns to me, Ray, and says, "I'm sorry, I should have asked if I could play first, but I'm sure you don't mind, right?" I don't. And even though I can't hear it really strongly, I'm enjoying it. She does her cute little laugh. Thanks, bud. You want to bring this upstairs? I mean, I said it earlier. That if there's nobody already here for a while and or chatting, then they may not stay otherwise unless they're hearing something. So I have to go upstairs. You're not going to hear any of us saying anything if I do that. Oh, wow, we're going harder than I thought we were. Oh, no, it fell. Yeah. I'm going to bring this upstairs with me, and it's actually not that I needed it to, but it's actually solidifying the fact that Linda is here, because last time she was here, she had me looking at the art around the house. And she's saying, yeah, I kind of hoped you might find that piece that I did, but you didn't. That's okay, because you have now. Welcome. So there's a question posed in the side chat. I haven't been rolling super long, and I put it. And I do kind of want to. So yeah, like I say, the question was not initially. Yeah, Nangle didn't mean that. Was not initially. Watch me go downstairs and forget this there. Yeah, it's pretty bright in this guy over there. Kind of clear though. Was not initially. How would I summarize myself? But how would I summarize my life? And at first, I thought that the answer that kind of quickly came to me when I took a moment to allow it to was answering that more one way than the other, because I don't even think I thought of asking it the other way. This could be an interesting spot to film. But now I'm not sure if it is one way or the other. So I'll see if anything else comes to me. I kind of don't want to summarize myself. I feel like I sometimes kind of do. And I feel like sometimes I might come across as bragging or being egotistical, even though it's a healthy ego and self-confident, which I certainly ebb and flow with sometimes. And so you gotta take the wins when you can, right? But no, I think I'd rather just answer that. But I'm gonna see if anything else comes to me. Linda's saying there are other people that feel similar ways to you. Sometimes stuck in life, sometimes low and discouraged. And yes, it shouldn't be that way. And I hope that you guys come out of those struggles. Anybody, you self-included, who has them. But I want you to think of times when, it's not necessarily fake it till you make it. What I want you and anybody else is welcome to as well. Think of times when you have made it. In fact, she's kind of this way. You can't fake that, dear. You can't fake that. The times where you've been successful and done well in life, those are very real. And we should remember those times. So thanks for putting me on the spot, Linda. She says, no problem, dear. Another way to format the question is to think of all the things you've been through. You know, it's great when we don't have to deal with struggles. Now the dog's on that chair again. When we don't have to deal with struggles and life goes well. And that should be the aim for ourselves and each other. I thought you were on the chair, just in front of it. But, you know, at the same time, life isn't like that. We all know that, right? She's like, we can talk about my painting later. This also isn't about me. She's like, I'd like to walk us all through an exercise. Meditation, if you want to call it that, or just an exercise. Aside from, first answer that comes to mind, in some was briefly there, in one or two sentences, how would you summarize your life up to this point, and how old are you? And then also, connected kind of to that, but its own question. How would you summarize yourself? I'm curious to hear this. Just a minute.
YouTube video, and after a couple of minutes I'll get free, and other than that I'll try to.
That is something I did want to say before she walks us through this exercise. Who is she? I'll tell you in a moment. As I have a contact who is unemployed, and I know he's working on a film project. I'd love to be local to help him with it, but maybe I don't have to be local to help him with it. It's in the beginning stages, he says. And I've only seen such a short snippet that I don't really have a whole lot of feelings on it at the moment. But he's told me a little bit about it, and remember, anonymous, and it sounds interesting. But he said that he's incredibly busy. It sounds like he's even trying to be busy because people don't like to slow down very much. And but like I said, you know, if you're enjoying it, getting something from it, time will fly. Well, it felt like a couple minutes, but really it was a couple hours. But it's interesting how similar yet different all of us can be from each other. Some people can be, and I don't know his journey. Maybe he's recently unemployed. Maybe he's not, but he's just going to keep trying and trying because he too feels there's no other choice. Although I may not apply to a lot of things currently because I know the struggle, I know how society operates as far as in the qualifications realm, and I don't fully disagree with it, but I talked a bit about it closer to the beginning of the first in this two-part series, or possibly it'll be a three-part. I don't know. But it's pretty crunchy or very hard. Don't swallow that all at once. Was talking to our dog. And what I said, trust him. But yeah, at least I've eaten something. May not have been healthy, but I've eaten something. And yeah, something. I don't know if that's what made me feel like she was present or not, but I saw something about food trucks in a group that I'm in that I clicked on, I think, while doing this video. So, of course, I thought about an upcoming festival and how I'm looking forward to going to it with a friend, and hopefully that'll pan out. It's about 3 weeks away. And how it's a place I last saw, ran into, chatted for a few minutes. One of my dear friends who passed away. She's like, I hope you're not going to talk about, you know, how sad that made you. I mean, I want you to feel your feels, but she says, buddy, I think you're focusing too much on it. Not to sound harsh. I do and I don't agree. And she's like, that's fine. Really? You know, that's been 40 minutes already. Well, she says, really? You know, only you can say. I do understand that. And I know I was special to you. And so I do accept that. But Linda was telling me she wanted to kind of do something for you and your viewers. That, you know, even though you do still hold some confidence and self-esteem and know that you're special, and we think you are, you know, in a good way, of course. She says, buckle up. I'm just going to show this again just to kind of, I was going to say why, you've already done that 4 or 5 times, but that's assuming they think exactly like a human would. That's pretty bright up there. Should have enjoyed it when it was a bit more hazier because I just find it too strongly. I might have that sun condition. Maybe even the dark condition. Just kidding. You have the human condition, dear, Linda says. And she says, I'm going to walk us through something now. Okay? Dog settles down. I'm going to say some random numbers. And I know that some of us do not have a good enough memory to necessarily say, without a doubt, that we remember something from a specific age. But I think that we all could say that we do for some ages or some grades or whatever. And she says, I know you won't be bothered by this, me saying this, but I visited you what now? 3 times, I think, Court. And she says, nobody's here, but, and she says that I have watched and I have listened. She says, I'm not a shy person. And I know, you know, I also, you know, up in heaven and with my own loved ones, I keep pretty busy. I got a pretty good vibe from you pretty quickly. So it's true that I am not necessarily, you know, there's kind of weird noise. I almost feel like you need a bit of background noise, but at the same time, sometimes the volume fluctuates and I'd have to get up and down, the dog's being good, to kind of adjust it as we go here. But she says that I am just kind of that way, and I know that you've been learning kind of how to kind of do similar at times where, you know, sometimes it's good, and that's possibly what some of the people that view your stuff do. You know, and I know that you must realize that too, where I just noticed we have a voicemail and I don't know. And then I thought I heard something. I hate to get up, like I said, but just a moment. I didn't think there was room for it. Wasn't a full message, and I think that was about the astrologist or whatever they call them. And I can't remember why I was looking into needing one, and I don't know if I still do. And that's an area much like kind of dental where I'm kind of just going to kind of just let it slide a little bit, let life unfold a little bit more, and hopefully then if I need to do something, it won't be too late. And otherwise, That's my journey. That's my choice. And I have my reasons for making it. I'm not going to take my life. I'm not going to hurt myself. But I may be a little bit lazy, kind of. I mean, I've made some doctor's appointments, and that's, I guess, because I didn't recognize the name, and I think they said mine. And it didn't really give me that much information other than somewhat celiac. But anywho, and somewhat silly. Just kidding. But which says anyway. So I have been. I saw it flashing. It was face down, the phone on but I saw it flashing there. And even though it was full, I guess it recorded a few seconds. And I'm holding on to some of those messages, people that I've met in my life, and she's like, "So shall we jump right into this then? I welcome you to join me." But she says, "I'm going to make this a little bit specific to him because I do know some things. I have observed him thinking and talking and feeling about some things." Two or 3 years old. I was thinking about it not super long ago. I have a family video, a VHS, that I may or may not have accidentally taped over in recent years. And my dad is in it. And I'm about that age. And it's Christmas. And it's also at the living room. And it's my brother on the piano. And a few other things. And I know I've told myself that even if I did tape over it, I have the memories of having seen it a few times in my adulthood, and I'm making new ones. Amen, she says. Okay. I'm sorry to do this. I'm sorry to do this, dear, but 12. My dad passed away. Okay, dear, she says. And sometimes I feel these spiritual visits deeper than other times. She says, don't force it. If you don't want to get super deep on certain things, I'm not going to make you. Just like you would never make anybody else. Sometimes you think, oh, I don't know, that's, not only in the live stream, otherwise there's other content or other things that can be commented on. And I know that, I can only handle processing certain things, and that is a very vast array of things, but still. And so anything about abuse, anything about struggling, I don't want to hear about it, for the most part. Okay? She's like, it's okay to have your parameters, dear. Childhood as a whole. Music, art, enjoying school, and most of the subjects. And she's saying to me, you have learned a lot of valuable things, whether you remember many of them or not, in those years. Would I be correct in saying that you learned how to look at your emotions and how to learn to heal and process certain types of grief, and be creative from a fairly young age, it sounds like? He says, that's beautiful, dear. And even though some things and sometimes it would be hard to keep doing those things, she says you should try to. No matter what stops you, or no matter what you may feel hinders you, and no matter if you're triggered, I think you have the strength. But you're going to create and do your creations in the form that's meant to be for you. Welcome. I was just remembering that I did want to try and because I listened to it again last night. There was a song I tried to do the other day and I didn't do. It was very new to me and I didn't do it very well. And I'm foreseeing wrapping this up in two different ways. One is answering the deep question that I put along the side there. I answered it myself as well. If you don't see it, I'll say it. But if you do see it, and I think you should, I welcome you to kind of multitask and try and answer it in the chats. I don't know if I like what I'm hearing from Linda at the moment. But she's saying, I know that I'm looking at a boy at this point in the exercise that we're at right now who finds himself on a quest for freedom, discovery, creativity, and making an impact. A person who feels a little bit lost in life. And as much as I want to extend my apologies sincerely for you feeling that way, it's kind of, it's kind of part of living, right? 20s. Very socially involved and connected. I did not waste my 20s partying. Not that I would say that that's completely a waste, but, a lot of people overdo it. I got out to karaoke things more often. That may only be a chapter in my past. Sure, I could try and recreate it, and I considered it after, the right thing. Yeah, but it's not that I can't sing anymore, and I often say I can sing, but I can't sing, so I won't sing. Because I'm not finding... I do still sing. But that's not what... And I try and balance it, and this and that, but it's not... She's like, maybe that will be your answer. When... Whether it's just us here and your loved ones, and which, that's a guarantee, plus yourself, maybe there'll be a few others, and they will hear the songs that you are speaking to your heart, like your title said the other day, and it might speak to theirs. And regardless of how much it speaks to theirs, maybe it'll speak to them that it speaks to yours. Are you done with that poem now, Linda? She's like, I'm only just beginning, dear. Have we addressed everything that you feel you want to from your 20s? I was working. And what was that like for you, dear? This is very conversational. Sometimes they just kind of say their thing. Or it's mostly me. I don't know. This just feels... We are having a conversation. And I hope you're enjoying it. I hope I'm not making you uncomfortable. And of course the viewers can chime in as well. What was working like for me? I don't know. I worked in a call center here and there. Not really a job that although I liked it at times, not really a job that I really, would want to do again or liked most of the time. And I sense Marianne stepped into the room and says, but sometimes we often used to say it was the people that we worked with. That's not to say that we didn't get pleasant people on the phones that were nice to us and that would chat with us and help our paychecks sometimes. And I feel mixed. I do feel like it was a legit company, but it's not what my voice was meant to be used for. Maybe at that point in time. Now it's meant to motivate and inspire, and through music and talk. She says I would agree with that. Linda says, but Marianne had stated the whole. Sometimes we would say, that what made it worth it was the people that we worked with, and that that's the case for the other person in your home most of the time. I brought somebody special, she says. She brings in JP and Jason. And they say, muchacho, which is Spanish, I believe, for, I forget what now, but I know I looked it up recently, and I think it's something positive. We felt you needed to hear that. He said, I haven't seen you guys in a while, it feels like, or very, very briefly. But I needed my muchachos. Not a word I use very often, but the other person in the home, there's a guy of African background, but he's learning different languages, one of them being Spanish. So he also calls him by his middle name for some reason sometimes. We're not sure. It used to be the first name, then it was the middle name. And I know what they meant. And JP behave. Jason too, for that matter. I think the other ones will, but and they're kind of sitting on that chair, both sitting on that chair over there, and kind of like smiling and acting a little silly, but trying to follow my directive. Friendships, connection, they're so important, aren't they, dear? She says, whether it would be a good thing or not, maybe you weren't meant to help on helplines because you knew that your spirituality would come into it. And that may be awkward for some. But doing it here on YouTube, if it's awkward for some and they choose to see it that way and they don't want to stick around, the right person will. So even though it maybe doesn't feel like you're as successful as you want to be, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as you're supposed to be doing it. Now this is where it's going to get potentially deep for you. Your 30s. And she says sandwiches. And I know what she means by that. The good. I mean, to summarize it, I have a lovely home. I love who I live with. The viewer left. And after a few seconds. And she says, you have what else? Aside from their short attention span? You get it. So I say I get it and move on. And the ability to come here and hopefully make a positive difference here on YouTube. What I can do. In the middle of that sandwich is I'm not employed. And I haven't been for a while. And I've been struggling with employment. And mental health at times. I'm going to put the same piece of bread, to put it that way, that I put on the other one. Not because there might not be more things to say on the other side of the filling, so to speak, but I don't know. I could think of them at the moment. She says, I'd like to invite you to look at the answer that you put to your question now. which I thought might be the end of this. It might be music. I don't know. I'm seeing something about Siege Diary. I remember what Marianne said about that, and that came up in one of the recent videos. This does not mean that we don't need the Earth Angels, and each other. Nothing else came to mind, but I was, she wanted me to maybe think of something else, but she was also, the both of us were kind of keeping it moving and grooving while I was briefly distracted upstairs. And how would I define my life and my journey in a short sentence up to this point? First thing that came to mind, and the viewer left, whatever, I am more than I currently am, but I'm still all those things, essentially. She says, now I will invite you to look a little deeper on that. Oh, she sounded like panic. She's like, this is what I do as a mentor. And first of all, my dear, I want to remind you, I don't disagree. I can't speak for the people at this place you hope to get an opportunity from. Maybe try with no expectation, one way or another. And if you still manage to get one, we'll all be very happy for you. If you don't, it's kind of like when Dal said, I'd bring you in tomorrow if I could and start your training. But it wasn't only up to her. And she was somebody that, helped in the hiring process, but it wasn't only up to her. And I wish that she hadn't said it, as nice as it was to hear, and as much as I mostly knew that she meant it. And it's the same with Linda, kind of saying, if I worked at that place, I'd give you a chance, because we all deserve opportunities and chances in life. And I'll briefly set up. And we all have value and worth. And sometimes in getting those opportunities, I was just long enough to hear that I'll deserve opportunities, chances. Sometimes in getting those opportunities, we can grow into and discover that. The legacy thing you had to walk away from, And even I did it, and I'd watched it before, but for some reason it's that different. I don't know. I did, But I want you to know. I want you and the viewers to know. Not there's any at the moment that can always be. We may think it's supposed to look a certain way, but it can always be. What I would kind of say to that is I feel like it has looked a certain way for a while, and I'm ready for it to look differently. And sometimes I want to be another person. She's like, shall we talk on that for a little bit? So this is kind of deeply in. She says, I sense that you're a person, and I worked with many people like you. And she says, I know you're learning a lot from this, and you learn a lot from a lot that you process and observe. People's behaviors, things that you hear and see and hear and do, and especially the latter. I mean, you do. I see your progress. And I'm sorry if sometimes you feel like it otherwise goes largely unnoticed. Sorry to send again. I just wanted to record a little bit of what's also ending up in a podcast. I wish I would have done this at the hour mark approximately. You know about my ability. I remember one time you came. You weren't necessarily expecting a session, and you gave me a little bit of money just simply to learn. Kind of feels like it connects to this. We got a like. Cool. Who do we got watching? I am just kind of sending a quick audio clip to a friend while I'm also rolling this. And what's happening is the very strong, uplifting spirit of an acquaintance of mine is speaking to me and us and saying, we have to give people the opportunities to shine in the way that best works for them, which may not be attaining a degree. You know, some people struggle more to get through high school, but that's an achievement in itself to be proud of. And you have, like I've mentioned, we all learn so much in our life, but it's nothing if we can't do much with it. So how are you doing that in your life? How would you like to with what you've learned in life? That's another way of formatting this or any other questions I've asked. And I'm 2 to 1. How do you how would you summarize in a sentence or two or so, however deep you want to get, what you've learned in life? And I think this is coming to the second part of the question for me. That's what I needed to ask myself. I have learned that to feel the feels with me, I'm okay mostly, that I have had to be stronger in some ways than I ever thought that I would have to be. And in some ways, perhaps, stronger than I ever should have needed to be. Whether it's people have passed away, there's been fallouts, I've struggled to find success. But I am here right now to show you reasons why it's worth it. I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I'd checked out on life before this point, and you wouldn't be hearing it. And that's a great segue to try and do that song again, perhaps. We have 1, then it became 2. Not sure who's watching. Do feel free to say in the chat. And we got 2 likes. I'm glad this is resonating. We all matter. Maybe you're stuck in a job. You feel a sense of purpose. You get up every day and you're going to this job. And you maybe even like some elements of it. But maybe it's not truly you. Now, I'm not telling you go and quit your job. Be smart. Think about why you need that job. Hi, Habib. How are you? I was thinking about how you said you're a very busy person, although you're unemployed. And I hear unemployed, and I think I'm at home just trying to find ways to bide my time and stay well and feel like I'm giving purpose to the world. And I'm glad that the 2 of you have seen that. And I'm glad that I decided to roll again and go this long. You know, patience and persistence. They can be 2 of the hardest things to do in life and to be and to have. And it may only be 2 likes, but it's 2 likes I didn't have before. And I appreciate you saying that, Habib. Same. And I appreciate your support and acceptance in that I say that I channeled the artist of this lovely anonymous piece of work that we happen to have in our house. An acquaintance that I didn't know. Somehow it made its way to our city and into our home. And she's made her way into our home and into my heart. And these people that it shows here could represent some of those people, whether I have them actively in my life or not. And she says, and the lovely dog as well, and she says, I'm glad that it was so powerful for you. Art is powerful, isn't it? Now, I kind of want to share one other thing as we get a 3rd viewer, and then I'd kind of like to try those 2 songs to wrap this up. Now, 1 of you I'm kind of familiar with, 2 of you I'm not, but 2 of you have liked so far. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to say what I want to say and let the words fall out. I want to see you be brave. I have struggled with depression, feelings of worth, self-worth. Celebrate. Okay. And I had a lot of females in my life growing up. I do have a feminine side, and I've been open to exploring that more deeply lately, truth be told, as we get a third person. And that is part of the fabric of life. I have this shirt that I pulled out of the closet earlier, and I think it's reading properly. I don't really like what it says. I got it and I thought film director. I think was the first thing I thought. I'm not bossy. I have better ideas. My ideas aren't better than most people's, but they're important and they matter, right? Same. That's a good message that Habib just said. What does this strip make me think of? When the other person in our home was lucky enough to be in a theater production of this Shakespeare play. And I had gotten to know one of the ones that was involved in creating it. And he is an accepting person. And he is nice. And he apparently has a background in autism. That I don't know if I saw, because how that ended was at the end of their production. I wasn't there on that particular day. I was doing something else in the festival or whatever. He says to the other person in the house, I would love to work with you in the future. Don't really have any interest in associating with. And that's his loss. And that's his wrong. And although it still bothers me and both of us, and we don't know why he said it, water under the bridge. This is not the shirt I was looking for, which has been downstairs, but it makes me think of it because it's a black sweater. And I have a shirt from one of my dad's careers. Interesting that there's a shirt made for it, to be honest. And I still have it. And I don't know how it would wash because it's got a lot of stitching on the front, like those animal shirts that feel. And I want to be very careful with it. And I actually have a really nice coat. It's very specific. I'd be recognized if anybody saw me in it. That I'd love to show. And yes, I didn't get an opportunity to be in a commercial when I wore that, and I thought it made sense, possibly two. But I'd love to show it, but I don't really want to wear it, and I don't know if I need to show it because I'm comfortable temperature-wise. That's so sad. I'm sorry that he said that to you. He didn't say it to me. He said it to someone else that is important to me behind my back, and I don't know how that person reacted. Probably like, oh, okay. And then, I wish he hadn't said that. And then we saw him a year or two later. I mean, I'm liked by some people. We can't be liked by all people. I need to be liked by more people like I was in my 20s. That's what I kind of feel like. Because, whether they're angels or on this earth, online and or in person, we deserve it. And I'm just as worthy as you, I know that he got a new job. Great for him. I think he got a new apartment, but I think he was possibly moving out of it or moving his partner into it. He was planning to get married. Happy for him for all those things. Those are good things. It's a lot at once and it could be stressful. Why did I don't get it. Maybe I was a little bit much for him at that point in time in his life, and that was his way of kind of creating distance. I love that, my dude. And it's not a shirt, it's a jacket, but I could. And I wouldn't mind going out to the back deck because the sun is not super, super strong. There's a bit of a breeze and some fresh air would be good. But I got two of you here. I wouldn't want, unless you both tell me that you can wait 5 or 10 minutes, because what else do I want to do in this? I might show that jacket. I want to talk, maybe there's not a lot to say, but about this art, and I know it doesn't look like much. He was trying to tell me this morning before he left for work that there were pieces of it that came off and it was supposed to look like something. And I'm not sure what. I'm thinking a tree or a tree with a hat on. And I did say something that I think one for sure, there's two people here. The second person, because it said three occasionally, I'm not sure if you heard me say the other part or not, but you're both here and that's cool. And I'm trying to decide, okay, the marbling, yeah, they still didn't put that up, that art. Almost a month later, I went there for a group. It's still not up. We gave them nice art. I hope they do something nice with it. I don't know why it's still not there. This is just about singing. And it kind of is the same color as the one that I was mentioning was in support of a person from my hometown who took his life. And so part of the proceeds go to the Canadian Mental Health Association. This is actually the other person's in the house high school shirt that recently got at a reunion. And it looks quite large, actually, and I've never seen him in it, but he kind of wears the same thing. We're not as old as we look. Oh, yeah, no skin. And I miss my school days. I do, and we live kind of near a school, and I miss the shop classes and the routine and the people and the sense of purpose that I felt from that even. And this speaks to community. It speaks to being colorful, and that's okay. It speaks to how I identify within that community. It speaks to a time when I tried to get a volunteer position on a helpline at a place where, am I looking familiar to the other person perhaps? I don't know. Where some people had not dealt with their sensitivities. They were just very focused on what they were doing and didn't like much distractions. And I started to get that sense. Or I reminded them of somebody, or, it was all so quick. I mean, she was new in her position, and I'm sorry if I came on a little strong. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm human. And it's meant to be. That particular phone line didn't get many calls anyway. And yeah, it turned out to be a toxic place where I couldn't go back because, well, I mean, one thing that happened is my worker worked there, and I had an appointment with her, and I wanted to ask her a quick question, but she was talking to somebody else. So I stood there for a few moments, and then I wandered off, and I may have mumbled something, and it got mistaken, I think. And the other person seemed to have thought maybe that I was infringing on their personal. I don't know. I really don't know, but that's what I think. The other one, I just got, and the one day was the market. It was a distracting day anyway, and that's where I got this shirt. And there was somebody else in the office that I heard some things about. So I didn't know if I wanted to go in there. I met her, I think, once. It wasn't that bad, but that was once. And I remember wearing this shirt because it's a bit more dressy, because I felt like I could be myself there. And does anybody know what these colors represent, out of curiosity? I'm going to go get that jacket. And there's another kind of fashion apparel thing that I'm kind of wondering about getting. A little earlier, I mentioned, this is deep, man, this is deep, as if it hasn't already been. I do see myself as a man, okay? I just need to put on a light. And I'm sure you see me as a man, right? But sometimes my ways of, I don't want to say, in the second person way, I don't want to say that that men can't be any way that they feel they want to be or can naturally be. I would rather be a tender, slightly effeminate man than an aggressive macho one, personally. And the little that I know of our viewer, I'm not going to say effeminate necessarily, but I would say that you have a gentle vibe, and I like that about you. And I do, but I know sometimes I get very kind of passionate and hyped up as well, right? So it's always kind of been there. And I haven't gotten many photo jobs. And I remember he wanted another camera. He's got a perfectly nice Nikon. And it was one way, and then the Ben thing that happened a little while afterwards, that I started to feel low on myself, so to speak, right? And I says to him, I says, well, I have that feminine side, and I've also not been happy in some areas of life. People do it for different reasons. Sometimes it's creative expression. Sometimes it's filling a part of them that feels empty or unhealed or whatever it is. And I think it's all of those things for me. But so I said those two things. I've never forgotten, but I've never, at the time, he said, okay, and nobody's going to be exactly all the things that we want them to be, which you could take different ways, right? Since then, he's been open to me, although we haven't done it yet. When we received those jobs, I almost thought maybe we were going to still get something that we didn't realize we'd ordered yet. Getting wigs. I said I sometimes might like to dress up. You know, there are a lot of people that do that on the down low, you know, in their own personal, you know, and we lost the viewer, and I'm not sure. I noticed that I thought you knew where that was heading. I noticed that is that you back, Habib? Or anywho, because you're the only one here at the moment, and I kind of only feel like, because into this video, I kind of only feel like continuing on that topic a little bit. If it's you, if it's somebody that I'm not familiar with that just tuned in, I mean, we can keep each other some company, but for a little bit longer here. But I was making some good momentum and sharing that, and I kind of wanted to continue. Maybe. Look at the comments that we got here again. Love you, man. Always here for you. Like I said, same. Never be ashamed of the parts that make you you, bro. I don't mind I don't like they, and I don't mind bro, dude, mate, man. Some people do them a lot. And some people will be bothered by that. And some people may say, well, that's their problem that they're that sensitive. And I understand we speak the way we speak, and yep, cool. And it's not being hateful most of the time when people say it. However, I would say that if somebody, and I remember the Zoom go once, and I can't believe, and that was many years ago, and somebody said it just, and somebody said, well, they is like a team or whatever. It is. It's all language that also is used in other ways in language. But nobody knows somebody better than they know themselves. And I think we have to respect that, right? We have to respect that. Like, I know that guy that said that thing, it was not because of, and I don't want to get super specific and we get a second viewer, of, knowing a certain thing about me in the thing we went. I remember, I think it was the year after that at the theater festival, he was talking to a dude that was wearing a dress. He might be a bit wishy-washy, I don't know, but I think I've nailed it on the head, actually, I think, where like he just had so much things, although good things going on in his life. And I mean, we can make a choice. I dated a girl for a while there that had lost her mother a few months prior. And I think she had some social skill issues. I will say that. And it's interesting because the first tab that responded when there was a bunch spinning was another name of an ex, and it was kind of a unique one, Lind. Anywho, and but she did not treat people very well. And I kind of think no matter good or bad what you're going through, you have that choice. And if you slip up, admit to it and do better. It only gets harder the longer you wait for it, the longer you wait to do it, right? Like, hi, Sheila. How are you? Welcome. It only says one viewer. Habib, I know that sometimes that's inaccurate. Have you been just gotten here? Or have you been here a few minutes? And I'm going to also, some of you, one of you remembered, the other one still didn't. Anonymous on the name. Although some people may be thinking, well, why would that matter now? You're being so open. But it does. And we got a third viewer. So where was I going with that? Yeah, you can still choose to be a good person no matter what you're going through. Because you know what? I mostly feel like that will come back to you and help you no matter what you're going through. But it shouldn't just be about you. It should be about the other people too, right? I mean, sometimes we all want to believe in karma when somebody's really annoyed us in a certain way. We want to say, oh, they're going to get the karma, and maybe they will. When I talk about that place, I don't know if I should say, and there's three of you here right now, I do feel like my dad's spirit had said, I went and kind of pranked them a little bit. Like I went there and showed them that I was not really happy with how things went, at least at the time. But I think that we've both come to accept that was meant to be, and that was only meant to be something briefly. 3-2, right? And I haven't heard from a lot of my loved ones on it, and I don't have a lot of family and mostly acquaintances. But what I have heard has been very special as well. And like I say, he's been fine. He's still open to these things at some point. And my dad went, my grandma went, "You're okay," and my other one said, "Proud of you." We have the power to change ourselves for the better or for the worse. But sometimes it's hard to feel that power. But yeah, at the same time, and now it's back to 3 again, at the same time, and I don't know if the sun's going to come out strong again. And I find it, but it'll be lovely at the festival. It will be, this is where I'm not too sure how specific I want to be. Ray says, quote the song, bud. I know I've got 2 supportive people here right now, possibly 3. It's been flashing a third one occasionally there for a while. And I think what we all should remember is, again, people know themselves best. We can't decide for them. And not that it hugely needs to be said, but for anybody else that hears this after, or the one that keeps flashing at the top, 2 of us can play the flashing game. Just kidding. You do you, and I'll be me. Why don't you do you? So I would ask, because it can be a small and a big world sometimes, I would ask for your respect. If I decide, it's also kind of a general comfort thing, that I want to appear a certain way at a certain thing coming up this summer, and I'm brave enough to do so, because could you be that brave? And it's interesting, I took all these things out of the closet and then took myself out of the closet as well again. I feel like we have one person here who's being quiet, but I think you have good intent. Sheila's been a bit quiet, and Abib's been saying some lovely things. But this is just another example. I'm bisexual. I'm coming out. Okay? And people can say, oh, that's not real. Are you? Because if you're not, how the heck do you know? And I'm sure that there are a lot of people who deep down do realize that they might be as well, and they just don't admit it to themselves. And that truly is the first step. Loving and accepting yourself. And then within that journey comes when it feels comfortable. And like I say, this is a bit longer, but when it feels comfortable, sharing it with others. And that'll, people say, oh, when did you come out? Now, usually that means to your parents first. But it's an ongoing process. Like, who are we referring to? I know when I told my mother, I said, I'm like some guys, but not like others. But again, a lot on the DL. But, and so I think that also had to do with having the kind of the feminine and the masculine in there. And recently, a dear friend, and the other guy I live with doesn't even know this, a dear friend actually gifted me something that is something I never thought I would own for my own person. Not a part of a beautiful part of the many things that make up being a female or somebody that aspects of that would resonate with. Let's say it that way. That's your choice of who you are, and that's for your choice that's your choice of lifestyle. Just be yourself. Exactly. So, I mean, funny story connected to that. Now again, and I said it kind of, like woman or anybody, we're more than our body, but we're also our body, and we should love our body. Everybody, for the, I mean, I do believe that we all come into this world in our skin suit, and we pretty much will leave that way, and that there's nothing, sure, I'm not confident enough to walk around shirtless, and maybe I wouldn't want to overwhelm some people. But if you are, put on sunscreen. Still not super sunny. I really want to go out there, but this is doing so well, and I'm appreciative. And don't want to be doing this out there, plus the Wi-Fi. I could do a second part, but then the other, even with the best of intentions, or you might kind of be like, yeah, well, I was here for a while, but and I'll stay for the rest of this one. But if you did a second part, I don't know if I'd be, so let's keep it. Well, it's good, right? So this particular friend got me a particular item, wearable. And again, there's personality. There's somebody. Her daughter helped. A daughter in her 20s helped pick this out because I. And although the quality was in some ways very realistic, and her husband said that he had a dream where he was wearing them, and I thought a lot of hetero or bi guys, and I'm diverse in what I like too. And it's not all about that, but a lot of them probably wish that they had, that they could just wear whenever they wanted to. I can't believe I'm sharing this, but I know that it's amongst good people, and if it's not, again, respect the differences, respect that it's not for you, and if it's just too out there, then welcome to the world, welcome to 2025. There's all kinds of things that make up a person, and this is me. Oh, and now that I've said that lead up, I almost want to go get, maybe we're not going with them. You want to see cleavage or not? No, it's weird. I have a good metabolism, and I do eat a lot of carbs, but it all seems to go to my Buddha belly. Like the other person I live with has pecs, and I would have been satisfied with that, and it would have saved. But I was able to provide a service, a healing spiritual service to somebody, and as part of the payment, we decided it would go towards this, and then there was a delivery fee. I would say that Temu and this particular product at the lower range, depends who you are. I also have Asperger's, so I'm kind of okay that the one side is ripped, and I might even do the same intentionally on the other side, because it's otherwise we're short. And a little bit, but you know what? With all this kind of here and there, kind of reminders and talk about self-harm lately, I don't want to be deep. I don't want to be disturbing. I know it's graphic, but it's not. But I'm glad even though it's awkward and I might have to wear a scarf with it now, even in the summer, I'm glad that it was on that and not myself. And I think, that person I live with, which I'm saying all these things. So why not be honest? I feel like, and again, only I can say, and I know that there are others. Thank you for taking the time to share all this with us, bro. I wish to stay, but I have to leave for now. Thank you for today's live stream, and thank you for your transparency as well. Be brave, and you. I try to be transparent, but I would never do the surgery. That's why I chose this other option, because I mean, I just, it's a permanent thing, and I don't like the thought of surgery, even if I was put under, you know. And I don't mind the masculine side of myself either, which is why I think that it felt so natural right away. It's kind of like I'm still me, but I'm also the great, I won't say, feminine me. I wish to stay, but I have to leave for now. Thank you for today's live stream, and thank you for your transparency as well. Be brave and you, which has a different ring to it for some reason than be brave and be you, even though it's saying the same thing. I love it, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being here. And Sheila said a little bit, not as much as she sometimes says, but welcome to say whatever. I know that you'll say it in kindness. And the third viewer, never met you before that I'm aware of. I'm curious who you are. Or I'm curious to know what you think and where you're watching from. But now it's down to 2. So Habib did say he had to leave, but has he been? And this is the thing, and I can say it, and I get it, right? Like, we got to be careful with the gender thing sometimes. But unless somebody tells us otherwise. Now, one thing I will state to that, which I realize causes some confusion in society, is if somebody appears more one way than another, or sounds more one way than another, it's easy for any of us, even those in the community, even those that kind of identify with them, to think, it seems more like a man to me. Seems more like a woman. Maybe they're fluid. Maybe they're part of the spectrum. Just like life is full of spectrum, Thanks for the hearts, And it's the way that the brain works, and it's the psychology, and it's our upbringing. And I think that this is my opinion. I don't know about if I'd say the same about transgender, but any non-binary gender fluid person, I would say should not be too uptight. I know when you feel so strongly a certain way and you feel like you've been invalidated or disrespected, but if it's coming from your parents, they're of an older generation. They've known you one way all their life. These are things you sometimes hear, right? It will take an adjustment as we get a third. And honestly, not just parents, other loved ones and friends. And it makes sense. I don't know if I should show that coat. Are you still there, Habib? Because I know you were asking about it. It makes sense, And we will slip up sometimes. And that's just part of being human and making some mistakes. Even if you feel, I've told you, you should know, Other distractions, sometimes things come out of our mouth quicker than we intend for them to. Where the real strength is, where the real power is, whether it's relating to that or in general. If you've slipped up, and I try to be this way too, admit to it. Oops, I didn't mean for that to sound a certain way. Or oops, I did it again. No, just kidding. Oops, I did it again. No, or oops, there it is. No, just kidding. Or like, and there was a few reasons why I stopped going, but I used to go to Rainbow Church. Okay, and privately we were having a one-to-one meeting just because his trans kid actually was in the youth group, and he opened up his office to anybody who wanted to chat back when we went there. And if you're watching this, Phil, not Dr. Phil, but if you're watching this, it's just one reason why we don't go there anymore. Because you'd said, are you going to vote? And we're Canadian. Still have to deal with Trump a little bit, but not as much. I said, no, I'm not hugely political, and I don't really know much about that stuff. Well, that's no reason not to. And in the moment, sometimes I'm too kind, or I'm too whatever. I could have still been kind and said, but it's my reason, and it makes sense to me. I think I just said, oh, well, and then we changed the topic. And he never, and now, then after a certain amount of time goes by, or, you feel an apology wouldn't be accepted, or you pray about it, or you think maybe it was something else, or maybe you moved away, or whatever it is. But in the moment, he didn't say, I don't mean to sound like I'm forcing you to like, why is voting so important? I mean, look at all the people who did not vote for Trump. But you guys got him anyway, right? Unfortunately. And politics is just too messy. It's no guarantee. I'd rather do what I can do to be as good a citizen as I can be. And sometimes I'm not doing as much as I would like. But if you don't mind, by the way, the two people that have viewed, or that have commented, I wouldn't mind if the live chat doesn't show afterwards, taking some of your comments and putting either asking you to or doing so myself, to put it under the video, because then it shows that the video has gotten some nice comments, because I don't have the live chat set to display afterwards, I believe. So how shall we navigate that? But so in a big way recently, I have been able to be me, be a part of me that I haven't been really before. A positive part, but at the same time, I would like to be working. I would like to be helping out people in mental health in the community in general. I would like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to hold you in my arms. Not necessarily, but I didn't write the song. Keep you company. I'd like to teach the world to sing. I'm standing hand in hand, da, 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 and peace throughout the land. Right? Especially the da 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 was especially powerful, I'm sure. And yeah, so I think I will take my friend Linda's advice and try anyway. Say I very much value the opportunity and feel like this is the way that I can access gaining the skills, some of which I already have, some of which I could possibly easily get. Will you let me? And we'll see where that goes. Welcome to the second person. But as far as, I don't need to show it. It was good enough just to say it. As far as the jacket, I could, and then I'd like to get outside. But yes, and then as far as, it would be helpful if you did it. And then it also would look more real if after this is posted, if you could come back and put your comments there, like I say, so that they do show even after they're live. Because I've really appreciated them, and I think they're great, just like you are. So I've done almost 3 hours of podcast this morning. I think I started at 10 to 9, and it's 10 to 1 now. And I'm satisfied with that. As much as I'm happy if these videos do better than 2 likes, and if you know somebody who you think would enjoy it, feel free to let them know, and who you know would respect what was shared. At the same time, the 2 likes that I otherwise wouldn't have had, they're great comments that I otherwise wouldn't have had. They're being able to open up to a couple people that are special to me, and I still haven't gotten your TikTok, Sheila, that I otherwise wouldn't have if I didn't do this. And that, folks, is the power of sharing your truth, speaking your voice and speaking life into it. And I'm not saying we all have to be frequent content creators and being in the audience, whether a live performance or otherwise, audience if you want to call it that, is needed as well, is an important part. But I encourage you, whether it's in video or in life, to remember your values, the kind of person you want to be, the kind of world you want to see, and be the change you wish to see in it. I can give advice, but it's sometimes harder to follow. Before I really, and it's even still been a slow journey, but before I really started to explore that, I remember I was out somewhere once and there was somebody I got that vibe from, and they kind of followed me. I remember there was another one from a bus, and he kind of followed me, and or at least was walking around the area, and so was I. And I still can't believe, or at another festival, though, they were talking with friends and obviously pretty, well, maybe not obviously comfortable. Maybe it was their first time doing it. And Pride felt like the place, and it's a fun time. It's a time to have fun and be with friends and be yourself, if nothing else. But there's also the historical reasons, right? But there's a part of me, next time I come across somebody that's like that, and I encourage you to maybe do so too, to let them know that they're seen and they're accepted. Go up to them and say something to the effect of, I'm not sure if this is new for you or not, but I support what you do, what you're doing. I accept what you're doing. And both of you left, and you're like, okay, we've stayed here for lots of deepness and emotion. We've got to get on with our day, and I should too. Honestly, though, I don't have any plans until this evening. And any just kind of, chats and keeping up in general. Now it's back to one. I don't know if it's either of the two or somebody else. I do want to sit out on the deck for a few minutes. And yeah. And the other thing to remember, and if it's the two that have already commented, you don't necessarily need to hear this, but I'll say it anyway. I think one of the biggest reasons to accept is because, let's put it this way, none of us really know our future, right? And the person who we are becoming, or we can feel like we know ourselves, and we feel like we know, who we're meant to be in life. But in a year's time, you could find yourself in a similar spot to the person that you were judging, where you're like, I think this is me, and I want love, and I deserve love. And I really like how that came out. And Ray and Linda and Dad and JP and Jason, your spiritual are saying, and we really love how you did. And how, and if you're someone that will always be hetero, thsi, not non-binary, gender fluid, I mean, that's okay too. But I do feel like a lot of us are more alike than different. And so, and I wonder what my life would have been if I had allowed myself to more, not that I didn't accept, but more fully, and this is like its own topic too, but maybe I'll try and take part of that, more fully accept it sooner. Would things be different? Well, I don't know. I'm still who I am deep down. It's just water, and it just kind of splashed, but I don't think it got the computer. I still am who I am deep down. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty A-okay. There are lots of people that are females. Sometimes I don't want to sound the wrong way and say this, but sometimes they create their own struggles, and sometimes they're a little bit more sensitive than maybe they need to be. Like, I read a post about something, and somebody, without consent, did reach out and touch somebody. And I'm not going to condone that. But if the guy had simply just said, you're hot, or you've got a nice, I would say that regardless of the gender that said it and the gender that you are, I think more of us should just be more like, thank you. Take that and feel good. Or would you rather hear you're ugly? You know what I mean? I think, as opposed to, okay, that was weird, that was creepy. Oh, I'm glad that they don't know me as a person inside, but from what they do see, they think I'm beautiful. and be thankful. So, yeah. It's already 1 o'clock. I don't have it. I do have a quick phone call I'm going to do later. I do have a meeting later as well in the evening. I do want to try and get outside before it gets really hot and too bright out. But I would also like to take a moment. I mean, you can see, and again, if you can put that after it's live, it's great. I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Grammarly, hopefully not too repetitively. No, just kidding. Because the other night it did it too. And it was there was another one or two that it was shown often too. But anywho, not saying I dislike them. But who do we got still watching? Is it Habib? Is it Sheila? Is it somebody else? I'm curious. But much like this photo, which can represent those that are currently in our life, as she said, photo, painting, and the angels that we already have, even if they don't look angelic, they are the figure of beings, the figure of speech. And my ability to sense that side of things sees Linda, Dad, JP, Jason, Ray. That's the combo that we seem to have today. Others may be there, but they're not making it obvious. All kind of standing in a group there. For being completely honest, I see them all smiling. But I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge them and the life that they had when they were on Earth, or the impact that they made on me and the people that they are. I think we've already talked about Linda quite a bit. In other videos, we've talked about Ray, a person with a great voice, very loving. JP, and Jason, I sense could be lovely singers. Again, very loving, diverse people. I mean, they have this in common, and that's why they're my peeps. And Dad, I only had him for 12 years, but he really worked hard for his family, and I've gotten to get a bit closer with him spiritually, and I'm very thankful, and I know I'm very blessed for that. JP says, can I say something? And through me, he is saying, don't hurt yourself, love yourself. Don't fill yourself with drugs. Love yourself. Love others. He says, I really liked life. He says, and I did accept myself, and I had a few friends and some supportive family. But I also had an addictive personality, a personality prone to addiction, and I made a mistake and passed away also around my 30s. He says, and I can't take that back from my loved ones, and nobody can. Life is so hard, and what's going to happen is going to happen, and we have to accept people's journeys. I knew that this specific topic, was going to have a bit more said to it. I just sensed it, If you've ever dealt with someone, hopefully it will never be me, who has taken their life, know that they're in a better place, a peaceful, healing, lovely place. But Earth can be those things too. Know that they still watch over you and love you and care about you, and they didn't want to hurt you. They just didn't want to hurt anymore. And sometimes the pain and the action that comes with it is stronger than anything that could keep them there, that could keep them on earth. And that is their soul's journey. Now, I'm not sure if it's Habib, Sheila, or somebody else that we got watching. There is a part of me, one, so I can close the tab, two, so I can say I tried again, that wants to wrap this up with a song. Would you like that? Sun's kind of gotten a bit bright and too warm out there anyway. And this is very interesting. My flash visual and this and that sent something very, very interesting. Not that the rest of it hasn't been, but my friend Ray just came down, kneeled on her knees, and essentially is grabbing my hand and saying, so I hope you can promise all of us that you'll stay strong and you try and enjoy life through the good and hard times. We love you, buddy. I love you all. Thanks for visiting. Now, I think that I said it, I and my loved ones said it pretty well in words, but I will ask again. I mean, the person that's here isn't saying anything, and that could be saying, yes, I'd like to hear the song. It's true. So let me navigate to the other window. It's a song I believe I just learned the other day for the first time, heard it. There's actually, there's further, I have open right now, Further Along, Joshua Garles. Read All About It, Emily Sandy, Part 2 for some reason. A Scottish song I learned the other day, but I can't find the one, just the performer. Ed Sheeran, Adele, and it looks like I don't have open, but I have a note of it. And actually, I don't have to use that window because there's another one that I remember that would work fine with it too. I believe it's this one. And I remember what it's called, and it's not the Gwen Stefani song. Oh, I wish I could play the actual. I wonder if I could. You know what? I'm going to do that. Where are those headphones? Buried under all these shirts. I want to do the song justice. I feel mixed about the artist Pink. I said it the other day to someone. I says, you know, I can't hate her for long because she's got a lot of great content, a lot of variety in her lyrics, even though a lot of it's deep, a lot of variety in her melodies. And, you know, yeah, she was wearing that weird outfit in the store, and she's a little bit too rough around the edges for me sometimes. But I can't hate her. One, because hate is not very much in my vocabulary, and two, because she's Pink. And yet she's all the colors of the rainbow. And because she's Pink, she's able to have the same exact title to a song as Gwen Stefani does. And it's all in cap. No, that's Gwen Stefani. Did I not type Pink? Okay, there we go. All in caps as well. And Cheyenne, you just read that it was in caps. Did you actually read the title of the email? Why I'm looking for the headphones is because I wouldn't mind listening to. I can't do it in the video because then there's a copyright issue. But it's going to be a cover. I tried to do it the other day. I don't think I did it justice. There's two songs I learned to first. One of them I may have heard before. That's the kind of thing. She has some songs that are kind of familiar. It's like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't really process it, and then suddenly you do, right? Is this them? Okay. Still under. Okay. So I'm going to quickly listen to, and try not to get distracted when I turn on my cell phone screen here. I'm going to quickly listen to the song, and I don't know if I should tell you what it is and let you do so too, and then come back and listen to my cover version, or if you want to just hear my version of it for the first time. We got two of you here. Curious who we've got here and who's got watching, who we've got, where you're watching from. And okay, so, and the ADHD is already kicking in, but I'm glad that yours isn't, whether you have it very, very strongly or not, because I'm just remembering that I emailed my brother and I'm wanting to check that. And okay, but it's what I wouldn't mind asking, and you're welcome to check out the other content too, but what I wouldn't mind asking is if you would like to comment on what you've heard so far. I will read it. I will respond, hopefully in kind and love and curiosity. But I'm going to listen to this and then I'll do it. Like I say, there's two songs. I'm more so feeling the one. I'm also thinking of that Jason Gordon song, which is ironic because of the voicemail thing I almost heard. Run the brightest out of all the stars in the apparent Milky Way. I think that's the word. Don't forget all that you are. You don't have to go and throw your life away. You don't have to go. It's all you have. It's what you need. If I could make you see, make you believe, you wouldn't have to go throw your life away. Would you like to hear read all about it, Emily Sandy? I almost want to do that one. This one's also and two out of the three left. It doesn't matter if I type pink, it still finds Gwen Stefani first, who's ironically also blonde. That's an interesting. Okay, we have a second viewer. I don't know if it's somebody who was recently here. I have it open on this device, but I don't want. I'm recording on this device too, so I don't know if I want to chance, making the device freeze up or. I mean, it would be just me listening to it, so it wouldn't distort the sound, and then I'm going to do it. It's just because I'm not that familiar with it, and I want to do it justice. But we got three people here. Okay, here it is. And it is karaoke style. I'm almost tempted to not do it on the guitar. I'm almost tempted to just do it like this and sing it. And then if you want to hear what it sounds with the backing track, you can hear what it sounds with the backing track. I mean, it's not that I don't play instruments. Which would you prefer? Do you have a preference? Because I know it'll come across as mostly a cappella. And I have had the occasional person say, better without the guitar, but I feel naked without it. But if I had the track to follow, and I think not to my own bugle, I think I'm good either way. Did you feel that the angels have left? But I know with Ray being here, I know that I'm kind of more drawn to one particular way. Because even hearing it again, I can't guarantee that the only version I've found will be chorded accurately or that the chords will be in the right place. So I think that's the answer. I'm just going to go put this over there, plug this in, and then I'll finally do this song. We got three of you here, and I'm very happy to have you here. Don't be shy in the comments, and I'll be right back. In less than 10 minutes, probably closer to 5. And I hope that you will enjoy my singing. Let's need a bit of a breather anyway. I know I said certain things about a certain topic, but to people that maybe didn't necessarily need to hear me say them, but for those that maybe did. And we got all three of you still here, so that's lovely. I do have one other curious question I'd kind of like to ask before I do this off, which is, if one, now it's done too, if one of both of you has not commented, I'm simply curious, what do you feel is holding you back? And because I think that sometimes it's good to, not always easy, but sometimes it's good to challenge ourselves. Better challenge ourselves. Well, we challenge others, but it depends how you do it and that, and if it's done in kind or whatever. But sometimes I think it's good to do that. And I'd love to hear from you and where you're watching from if you haven't commented yet. Like even for myself, and now we're down to one. For myself, I kind of have a way that I go about commenting when I comment things for my own comfort. And usually it's not super active threads, and usually it's not at the very top. But every now and then I go against the grain, or I go against that, you know. Yeah. So got one so that's cool. And I know I got deep with these two podcasts today. And I am glad that you allowed yourself to stay curious, stay interested, to feel and to heal. And I really am curious what you felt. Now, although I feel that JD said it beautifully, and Linda and Habib and Sheila, and we got two now. Sometimes, as I said in my music video that I did the other day, it was a big music medley. Sometimes music is what speaks it the best. I could play the guitar. I've gotten back into it, mostly happily so, although it's felt a little bit like it's that's not been seen as much. But I think I said the reasons why, so I'm just going to sing this. I'm going to pop these on so that I can hear what I'm singing with. I'm going to thank her for what looks like her official channel having a lyric-based video. And it's actually not the same quite as the Gwen Stefani song. It's The Great Escape. And after a word from our sponsors, whoever they are, happy birthday. Is it somebody's birthday? Let me see. If what I did here, I don't remember. I know I picked, I think, balanced or the lowest amount of advertisements, so that when I play them back, I don't see them because I didn't want it to be interrupted too much. And I still don't understand how that goes monetized. But the channel's got new settings, and I do believe this is monetized. We can figure out a way. If you liked what you heard, and you don't necessarily want to comment or know what to say, and you like what I've said, what's been said, the healing, the singing, which I think is just this song, I won't argue if you want to send a donation. I'd appreciate it, and it would keep us afloat. I'm not going to say that line about it helps me to keep creating content. I used to never get that. I thought you can create content for free. But I guess I kind of get it in the sense of it's motivating. Comments, likes, and money are motivating to YouTube creators. Because, I mean, if I was to find myself, say, in a successful career or position of some sort, and I knew that I was making an impact, would I want money as well? Well, it's not just about the money, but I'll tell you that we all know that money makes the world go round, and it, as Lex said, makes things easier. Nothing is free, and we don't want to have to be people that are thieves, right? You know, and because that's not good morals. I get the instinct, I get the struggle, but it's not the way to be, right? So I've always felt like it just makes me feel like I'm a step higher on the ladder. I'm a higher level of success and financially doing okay, which I sometimes don't feel. So nothing more to say about that. Thanks for listening, both of you. And anybody else afterwards, here comes the song. I'm glad you didn't think I was wrapping it up, because I'm not. It's only just beginning. Just kidding. And then you can look up the actual song to hear the actual lyric with this. But right now, I'll just kind of do an a cappella version, but that's how you'll hear it. Pink's The Great Escape. I can understand how when the dances are rough. Like, she's singing in this one, and I hadn't noticed. Let me just see if maybe big screen. The background and the way the lyrics come into it, it's like she sings it before they show up, as if you know the song well, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because I don't. Let me just see what it looks like large, and I'll show you what I mean. I can understand how when the edges are rough. That's a bit better this size. I'd like to find a different version. I thought it was better that way, but it's and I thank her for putting that version there, but that's so just a moment here. Which is interesting that it even rotated, because I just noticed that I don't have rotate on. It's like when I put battery saver on. I appreciate your patience. I'm just going to see if I can. I don't know how old this song is. That's why it wasn't fine. Great Escape Karaoke. There is a very ironic, and some do, and some don't, and some like both. There is a band I think I've heard of called Boys Like Girls, and they have a song with the same title. X3 Luna X. What's with the X3? Let me see. BJ. Yeah. Okay. Suzanne. I have to look and see how Suzanne and Hilda are doing. Likewise. Okay. Let's try this version. I don't think it's Habib still here, or Sheila, but I could be wrong. Here we go. I can understand the edges are rough, although it says ages, and they cut like the tiny glass silvers. I'm sorry, this is being so difficult. There was totally some. I don't know the song well, but there was totally some typos in there, or spellos. Slithers of grass. It was slivers of glass, and I don't know it well enough to sing it the proper way. Okay, let's try this version. I was hoping to find it on Cara Fun or something, because that would be pretty accurate, but okay, this looks pretty good. I hope it highlights. And what's in the background? Created with. Can understand how the edges are rough, and they cut like tiny slivers of glass, and you feel too much. Welcome, second viewer. And you don't feel too much. Don't know how long you're gonna last. 2-1. Is it? But everyone you know trying to smooth it over. Find a way to make the hurt go away. But everyone you know is trying to smooth it over, like you're trying to swim underwater. Underwater. See how it's showing it? It's saying created with trial version of karaoke video creator blah blah in the background moving, and it's annoying. But anyway, I can. I'm never gonna watch you checking out of this place. I'm not gonna lose you, 'cause the passion and the pain are gonna keep you alive someday. They're gonna keep you alive someday. I feel like I could wave my fist in front of your face, and you wouldn't flinch or even feel a thing. And you retreated to your silent corner like you decided the fight was over for you. You're left, but whatever. Everyone you know is trying to smooth it over. Everyone you make the hurt go away. And everyone you know is trying to smooth it over. Everyone needs a floor they can fall through, whatever that means. I won't let you make the great escape. Never gonna watch you checking out of this place. I'm not gonna lose you, 'cause the passion and the pain are gonna keep you alive someday. They're gonna keep you alive someday. Piano. YouTube doesn't like karaoke though. Terrified of the dark night if you go with me. I don't need a pill to make me know. And I wrote the book already, but that chapter of my life will soon be done. I'm the king of the great escape. You're not gonna watch me checking out of this place. You're not gonna lose me, 'cause the passion and the pain are gonna keep us alive someday. Yeah, the passion and the pain are gonna keep us alive someday. Yeah. So I don't know if I did that justice to the song. Now I'm going to do one more bonus song to wrap this up that I learned just last night, and I'm going to try and find a karaoke version of it. Or should I do it on guitar? There's that question again. Well, then I'd have to toggle. But isn't it open in this window? Whoops. From last night? Oh, yeah, but I'd have to go away from that. I want to keep this. So, okay. This is called second. What was it called? Matchbox 20. Hand Me Down. And I love most of the lyrics to this, so I'm going to sing it. Got two of you here. One has been here for a while. Don't be shy. Say where you're watching from. Glad you're here. CrossFit First Creek. Okay, here we go. After hotels.com, we got MT Hand Me Down. I never knew this song of theirs, but I like it, and I hope you will too. I'd play the backing track, but YouTube does not like karaoke backing tracks, I've heard, so it'll just get the vocals. And so we. I think this is my third or fourth time hearing this song. It's got a bit of a slow start, like violin or something, or. Wonder if I could play it in speakers. I could try that. Let me just try that. Where's my speaker? But the only thing is that I might want it for when I'm enjoying videos with the other person in the house and the video requires it to enjoy it. And we've been having issues getting it to charge again. So once it's dead, it might be dead. Unlike our, even if it feels like that. So, okay. They the fragile. Well, that came in fast. Okay, here we go. It starts off slow and then it jumps in fast. Have you heard this song before? Hand Me Down? Da, 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 da. Someday they'll find your small town row on a big town avenue. You like the way they talk when they're talking to you. Because to tell you to. It's really fast. I'm sorry. The way to tell you everything you wanted someone else to say. They're gonna break your heart. You're from what I've seen. You're just one more hand me down. Because no one's tried to give you what you need. So with all your troubles down. This one's kind of tricky because it's different colors. Now, but I couldn't find it. I will take you in, try to make you love again. Make you like the way they feel when they're under your skin. That they would lie when they're holding you. Heaven called when they said they'd call you. You start to wonder if you're ever gonna make it by. You're not born what I've seen. You just one more hand me down. 'Cause no one's tried to give you what you need. So lay all your troubles down. I'm with you now. I'm here for your hard times. The straight and your hard times. We're living ain't easy. Can stand up against me. They really like me. Yeah. This is why it's hard to sing with. That's why it's hard to sing with. The way the text comes in and the color. Yeah, no. Someday the world shake you down to the drawing board. They're the best to change you. They still can't erase you from what I've seen. You're just one more hand me down to them. I'm a drummer. To give you what you need, love. So lay all your troubles down. I might do one thing on guitar. We've got somebody here. They seem to be enjoying it. Me. Oh, you're just one more hand me down. What you need. What's that Shine Down song? I learned it recently. I'm just going to have to look up Shine Down chords and see if it jumps out at me. There's a couple of them, actually. But there's one I sometimes... Or is it Collective Soul? Love... This has been quite long, though. Would you come back if I rolled again? Let me know in the chats. If I came back and just did like 2 songs and then got on with my day. I might step outside briefly for some fresh air, actually. Just very briefly. We do have 2 people here. I'm looking at Love is in the water, love is in the air. Share me with a look, tell me will love be there? Will love be there? That was at a funeral, I think. I wish I could remember the song. I wish I could remember even a part of it, the one I'm thinking of. It might just have to be this one. I'm going to step outside, take a few breaths of fresh air, enjoy that it's kind of not super, super sunny, but kind of sunny. There's a bit of a breeze, I think. I've done a lot in the podcast world here today. And then I will come back, and I'm going to try and remember that song. It's either by Shinedown or Collective. No, Shine Collective Shore. Shinedown. Oh, I listened to it fairly recently, and it's at the tip of my tongue. I wonder if I started to type it in my browser, if I'd remember. Being Human's kind of good. Well, do either of you know Shinedown songs, or if I don't do it, it's not meant to be in this one, but I am gonna do what's it called now? Shine by Collective Soul in just a moment, and I hope you'll like my version, and I'll do it on guitar. I say you're being so polite, hey? So polite. But honestly, these have been very deep podcasts, a lot in them, and I'm pretty tired. But you know what? I would feel silly to not keep going while there's people here. Down 2-1. But I don't want to make you wait. I just, like I say, I've done this one, and I did one almost back to back right before this. Not long after having woken up, and it's just, it takes a lot out of you sometimes, right? So I'll be right back. And do I want to, not really relaxing or taking a breather, but okay. I'll call him at 2:00. Oh, yeah. You know what? Sonny, come here. Get in here. I want to watch. Here we go. Come on. I don't know if there's much of a breeze, but you know how when you're in the sun, you don't necessarily feel the breeze? And it was a bit sunnier out than I thought it was going to be. And our dog got out, and then he didn't want to come back in. Might be a bit better at the front, and you are still here, which makes me think you're willing to wait. And I do appreciate that. You're shy. I don't know if you were here when I asked this question earlier. Now he's settled down in front of me. But and again, I do value the fact that you're here, and I hope that you're here because you're enjoying it, not because you see just how weird this gets. No, skin. But I would like to pose a curious question. If there's something that's holding you back from commenting, I don't think it's the two that I already have because they're not shy. I'm curious what you think that is, and if you might be able to get out of your comfort zone. Because I feel like you've been here for a while. There was two for a while. So, yeah, you have been here for a while. And like I say, that matters. That's important to me. You matter. Now it's 3. But I'm just curious, And if somebody is just shy and kind of introverted, we all can be. I often think we're all both introverted and extroverted. It's just one more strongly. Now, one of you will have heard me say this, but the other two that tuned in didn't. As you can see, this has been quite a long podcast. I did another one earlier that was just a tad shorter than this. And I feel like I need a bit of a breather and a bit of fresh air. So unless you were to tell me that you'd come back in a few minutes and I could start a new one just with that song, then great. Or I put so much into these. I think I'm just going to do the one more song, and I can't think of what the other one was I was trying to remember, and then I'll wrap this up. So yeah, like I said, don't be shy. Say where you're watching from and comment if you'd like. If you're more comfortable just liking, that's fine. If this has been powerful and impactful for you as it has been for me, musically and otherwise, and you want to donate, I appreciate it. Don't quite remember exactly how that works here on YouTube, but I know that it does. And I'm happy that you're here. But it's part of that self-care and showing myself, not that I haven't shown myself as well as y'all, some pretty strong examples of love, perseverance, and acceptance. But I just feel like it's something I need to do for myself before, so that I can come back and do this song as best as I can. And I think two of you, the both of you, seem to be understanding that. So I don't need to go on about it. We are down to one. And I'm curious also, like, but now we're down to none. But now it's back to one. Starting back at one. Sorry. I'm not sure if it's the one who's been there already, so I'm going to sound like a broken record. I mean, you can stop me in the tracks and say, yes, I've heard you just say it. You don't have to say it again. Or did you just tune in for the first time? Because all it says is there's one individual currently watching, and I feel that's meant to be. And then there's that awkward silence while I find out if two are here. Okay, so you know what? But sometimes you have to, because you might be two people that weren't here already. So just really quickly, and hopefully you can process it, because I've already kind of said it. But I'm just going to go give myself a few minutes of fresh air. This has been a long podcast. There's been two of them today. I want to do the song at the best that I can. And I'll be back in just a few minutes. I hope you'll find it worth it. You'll have to let me know once I come back and do the song. I know how painful and how much anticipating and waiting can be hard, even if you're trying to. I do understand that, and that's something I did sort of allude to a little bit probably within this, and you're welcome to go back to the beginning and watch as much as you want to watch or are able to watch later. I don't require anybody, when these get long, and these have been two of my longest ones today, I don't require anybody to watch all of it. If you can and you're able to, cool. I look forward to hearing what you think, and the thumbs up and all that, like I say. But, and you've been here for this, but not to toot my own bugles, I would say, I do feel like there was some good stuff earlier in this and in the other one, and of course other videos I've done. It was still pretty hot out there, but there is a nice breeze. I just, especially when I'm already kind of tired and kind of drained, but I'll do this for you because, like I say, you matter. I'll blow my nose for you. No, just kidding. Now I'm reminding myself of Matt. Is it Matt that's watching? No, just kidding. But, when you talk for a while and that kind of get a bit congested. And it's a human function, and you didn't seem to mind, so I appreciate that. Like, as long as you don't start twisting and turning, and it's the twists and turns of life. No, I'm just kidding. It's like I say, it's very human, right? So, not necessarily to podcast it, but that wasn't the intent. Thanks for understanding. So, Yeah, and then I also saw I don't know if I should say this, but we have a slightly disabled dog in our neighborhood, and I think it's probably a rescue, and then there's another dog that she owns as well, and I just saw them kind of crossing the street near the ramp. And even though he maybe has a hard life as a disabled dog, as any of us that might have some sort of disability or the other might, you know, he has no choice. I mean, it's a perfect example. When we talk about the fragility of life and deciding whether to live it or not, I mean, that dog is going to stick by its owner and live its life with its 3 legs and adjust to that because it has to, and it has an owner that is being responsible, not taking a chance with an animal that is still has impulses and doesn't understand human concepts like traffic, is walking it on a leash. It's not as likely to walk out in front of a car, right? It certainly isn't going to do some of the things that some people feel like they need to do with their life because they can't do what they would rather do, what they would truly like to do. And that came up in some ways earlier in this podcast, especially. And I think it was deep because it's a deep topic, but I think that it was gently and beautifully said. And just kind of like, it was interesting, the dog's perspective. The other day, I thought about doing a podcast like that, and we got 2 and 2. I thought about doing a podcast where it's kind of like whether I showed the dog or not, ours that we have in our care, and kind of like, we attach a lot of human type thinking to our pets, and that's fine, as both of you laugh, but which isn't as fine, but and it's understandable. Not I do it, but and it's not that they aren't smart, and we see evidence of that, and like with mine, I mean, sometimes yes, sometimes no, but we still love them. But it's interesting to think of life from the perspective of a pet, right? And how they're still going to love people, even if they may have been a little bit traumatized, um, from one thing or another. Like for that one that made it lose its leg, it's still going to love people. It's still going to try and live a decent life. And again, it's not that I don't feel like we need to respect the choices of those who feel they can't, and we shouldn't take it personal, as hard as it is. But if you're struggling with your life and you feel it's falling apart, it's not to say that what you're going through doesn't matter, but people do have it worse. If you have the ability to get, clean air or decently fresh air in your lungs, enjoy flowers, enjoy the sunshine, bring up something funny on the internet to make you laugh, or a favorite song, or a song that just speaks to a deep feeling that you're trying to heal and process from. If you have the ability to have something tasty to eat, you're doing pretty darn good in life. And we have to remember to be thankful, right? I know it's hard when things are hard. It's kind of like, why would I be thankful? I've got this and this and this going on. Well, there's some reasons. And I need to remember that myself. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't get reminders of that as often as we need it. And unfortunately, some people will feel pain stronger than they realize those things. Because the truth of the matter is a lot of people feel deeply. And that's not their fault, and it can be a special thing. But feeling your own pain and feeling others' pains can be hard. You are not a burden. I am not a burden. We are meant to be here. You're loved. Even if it's by strangers on the internet telling you, you matter. Because we can all think of people that we love and that matter to us that might be very similar to the strangers we're saying it to. Or a loss that we've been through that we wish somebody had said that to them, or that we had said that to them. But some people are very good at hiding what they're going through, or don't want to be a burden, and that's why they do it. That's not your fault, and to be quite honest, it's not necessarily theirs either. It's just the way that they're coping, the way that they're dealing with their challenges, or struggling to. And so to all those souls of people's loved ones who have taken their life, I send them love as well. Life is very beautiful, but it can be hard. And I'm sorry for anybody who felt like they couldn't. I think we also should remember that those people had also had good times in their life with us and in general. And that's pretty powerful. Looks like the sun's running in a bit. I can't tell if I'm hearing rain or not, but it looks like it. Yeah, they did say. That looks like wet on the window. We have somebody that's been here for about 15 minutes. And I don't know if you've ever heard me say before, but I channel angels. And if you're religious, they can coexist with each other. Those. It's not even a belief. It is a belief, but it's also an ability. And that was really interesting. I had came back and intended to just do the song, to be honest. But even just one person viewing, whether they're commenting or not, is motivating. And I don't remember the details. I remember the photo that I wrote what I was experiencing on. And do I want to try and find it? And could I easily? It would be an interesting trip down memory lane. But I do sense that sometimes, not always, certainly not always, as we get a second viewer, welcome. Sometimes when it's raining, we could look at it as, refreshing the earth, but also reminding us that it's okay to cry if we need to. And that our angels sometimes do too. That, and that does not necessarily, like when I sense a little bit of rain, it doesn't seem like it's very hard. Suddenly starting and hitting that and landing on the window there, after saying the previous thing I said, you bet I feel like there is the soul of somebody that appreciated it to the point where they dropped a couple of tears because they really felt moved. And I feel like what I feel right now is that the soul is saying, I have been doing so great up in heaven. I really, really am happy here. And I do feel seen. But I just heard you say, and I don't remember my exact phrasing, but it was around the 240 mark, just told me to say what I said, and is saying it took me back to that time when I did what I did. which I am very sorry to my loved ones for. And that I didn't feel heard and seen. And part of that was my fault, she says. But one of your angels told me to come here and listen. So yes, JP is there. One of my angels told one of yours to listen, as she did, and then, is expressing thankfulness. She says, it's hard to think of a greater pain than not feeling heard, seen, and valued. She says, I barely know you. She says, but I sense that that is one of your greatest strengths. She says, what's kind of unique about me is I was a little older. She says, I watch the rates of youth doing these kind of things. And it's scary and it's sad, she says. I was close to your age. I actually was a little bit older than you, she says to me. From what I gather from your loved one. And this is very sweet of her. She's saying that she's happy that I am here, that I'm talking about this topic. She says it's so important. She says, when I see the pain that has been left with my loved ones because of what I did, I'm sad. She says, I know they wouldn't want me to be sad, so I hope they wouldn't want me to be sad, right? So I hope that I understand they miss me. I want them to remember the good times and my legacy, and I want them to be able to feel their feelings. But if it's because of how I died, that's a hard one for me, she says, because that wasn't my life. That was what took my life, her. But she says it wasn't her life. Her life was trying to be a good person and a sister and a daughter. And she says, even though I didn't always feel like I succeeded with that, I think I did. And when I see wow, this is so deep, my goodness. When I see she's very well spoken. When I see my loved one's pain, as hard as it is for me, she says, I see that I mattered. I see the pain I left behind and the emptiness. And if they need to know that I acknowledge that I admit that I maybe made a mistake, all I can ask is that they respect or come to respect the choice that I made. That I was doing the best I could at that time. And I'm truly sorry. So we got two again. One's been here for a while. This seems to be resonating. I know it's a lot and it's deep. I have been lucky enough. I've lost a lot of loved ones, but in that way, to my knowledge, I haven't. Except for JP, I don't think it was intentional from what I remember hearing. But I've only communicated, well, I guess Mike, who I kind of knew and I mentioned in the other video, but I've only ever communicated with one other person that that's done that. And I remember the photo that I posted along with what I was feeling, and I'm surprised I'm not seeing more photos there. That's odd. Anywho. She says, so that was a message from my loved ones. And I hear that you have musical ability. She says, that's very cool. I'd love to hear it. To me. But perhaps you do as well, or maybe you would like to, and I'd be happy to help you find that. As we have a third viewer. There is a very special presence. I will say that. Speaking to my ability. If you know, you know. The third person that left, I don't know which of the three it was, but who took her life and is, and you know, sure, I've thought about that, and I know about the feelings people may feel, you know, or this and that, but the way she said some of those things. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. She comes up to me and she stands like this close to me. But like, I could see her head to toe, flash visual. And she says, you're going to promise me you're going to be okay? Don't do what I did. She says, no, whether my loved one that's seeing this says it to you or anybody says it to you, you're saying it to others, and I want to remind you that you matter. Okay, bud? Fist pump. And we got 3, 2, 1. Blast off. I think let's have a moment of silence for this soul and any others that maybe need it. And then we'll do the song. But in my moment of silence, I do strongly want to express my thankfulness. My thankfulness for that soul and your dear loved one who spoke to mine so beautifully. She says, this is such an important topic that I have to come back and be and say a little more, if that's okay. She says, and I don't, you know, we don't want to overwhelm you. So we're try and make it a bit more condensed so we can do the song, because even though I don't have a lot to do till this evening, I'd like to wrap up. I have a sense that maybe one of the viewers wants to say something, but this is a lot to process. She says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But she says her family tried hard for her. She says a lot of them did. She says it wasn't that she didn't have a good family. She says it's that she had a challenging brain, mental health things that burdened her. A lot of people that do this do. It's true. She says there's only so many, you know, so many ways that people would feel when they, I mean, so many, maybe not a lot, but deep ways that people would feel when they go through this. And I felt some of those, she says. I mean, end of the day, all who hear this, I just want them to know that I'm happy in heaven, truthfully. But I know that my loved ones, and maybe even yourselves, are needed to be reminded of some things, needed to possibly feel some healing. She says nobody's worthless. Some people are more deserving than others, and some people are very deserving and do not receive what they should in this life. She says, but I can tell you that in the next life I have. She says, now I can't say that without saying, but that does not mean hurry up and get here so that you can have the perfect blissful life that you want. You will get it. But she says, you said it. You said it. You know, enjoy the beautiful things that the earth does show you and that life shows you. She says, I seen them, but I didn't allow myself to appreciate them like I should have. He's like, yeah, that's a pretty flower. I'm feeling pain. She says she actually feels bad that every now and then she would. This is ironic because I saw somebody doing something like this not far from home recently. I would pull out flowers and throw them, or occasionally step on them. Says I was a very strong person. I didn't think I could do anything to myself, but I didn't feel as strongly as I should have the beauty in this world. And I took it out on things that could have been good for me because of my pain. And she says, and that wasn't right of me. She says, I let myself listen to music that probably didn't help how I was feeling. Don't we all do that? That was kind of the question with the first podcast and sort of this one. Haven't we all felt times when we didn't want to live? I mean, seriously. Because there was just too much stress, or we weren't getting the things that we wanted in life. I'm not judging you. I know it's hard. It's just unfortunate that sometimes it takes somebody's loved one from them, right? But she actually says she does a lot of gardening in heaven. And she sings a lot. And she dances a lot. And I mean, if you've been here through the whole thing, this and that, this is happening very naturally. I know that there's a lot, and it may seem like I'm just trying really hard, but no. I mean, this is all just into my mind. If I was trying hard, I'd be a bit more meticulous, I think, you know. I'm very natural. She says, yeah, I like that about you. I don't know you very well, but I like that about you. So your loved one, I'd be curious to hear from you if you want to about how this resonated with you. But I've just got to, again, thank this individual. She has been, as we near the 3-hour mark. Wow, this has been a long one. She has been very poignant, very genuine, uplifting, friendly, and I hope you won't mind me saying, but the flash visuals I've gotten of her, of what she looks like, I don't know if she had blonde hair or if it's just the lighting on her hair that makes it look a light color, and it's pretty long. Well, not pretty long, but it's long. But she's visually beautiful. In fact, she's actually kind of saying that she thinks that maybe some people were intimidated by her looks, which is interesting. She says that even though I was a little messy inside, in my mind and in my soul, she says I usually manage to take pretty good care of myself. You know, I always had my hair combed nice. I tried to, you know, wear pretty things. And she says I was blessed with outer beauty. But it doesn't really matter how pretty you are if you don't have a good heart, which she did, but mind, which she tried to, which actually, when I say the which she parts, it's actually, I feel like it is her saying that. I'm trying to say, I'm not meaning to say she had a good heart. I did. I'm not trying to say she had a good mind. She's like, I did, although it was obviously quite hard to live with sometimes. And she says, but I totally get you can have those things and even sometimes have looks. And no matter who you are, life can be hard. No matter who you are. So she says, I'll leave it with this. And then if you want to still do your song, I'll stay and listen with your friend JP and Ray, my friend JP and Ray, and Jason. And she's calling over others. We got two, welcome, and another one showed up here. Now, that's slightly distracted. What was it? The last little bit? Oh, right. She wanted to also say a little quick bit of life advice. She says, you're doing great. You're doing great. But if I may. And she says, I think they just saw me. What one of the viewers, as if you almost, this is feeling so real to you that as part of this experience, you're obviously seeing her, but when she kind of came here, it's as if you actually really strongly saw, like what I am calling this flash visual, but you knew her. I almost wonder if I did. Bronwyn, is it you? She doesn't want to tell me. And that's something we have to understand. You know, look at all the great, beautiful things that were said. One thing I've learned during this is that, you know, it's okay if you remember them as the person they were with the name that they have, but those things don't matter to them there. They're like, I'm just me and I'm happy. You know, we often want to try and identify things that sometimes don't need to be, you know. But I do sense I might know this person. I want to say it's Bronwyn because it's reminding me of someone I haven't thought of in a while. She's like, I just want to say, cherish each other. Cherish each other, please. People want to know what they can do to prevent people suicide. Love each other. Listen and be there for each other. If the person doesn't let you, but you realize that you've tried, you have done your best. It is up to faith. It is up to that person to decide what they want to do, and we have to respect it. We have to live with it, but we have to respect it. She says, I'm peace out, yo. That's me. She says, why do the song now? I'm glad I'm speaking to me. But she's like, yeah, but, you know, this has been, she is actually kind of saying that one of you, this really resonated with, and I could kind of tell, even though there hasn't been comments or likes, I could kind of tell. And she's saying, that she'd like me to be introduced to you, actually. Sure, I would like that, 1 to 2. But she is actually saying, I hope they say something to you. Because I get to see that too, and I'd like to. I'd like it for you. I'd like it for me. No pressure, not forcing you. So she says, if you feel like you need another breather and you maybe need to go briefly upstairs, do something, care for your needs. She's fine with that. She hopes you will be as well. And whether you've been already working on a comment or just starting one, and she's actually kind of also stating one thing that she hated, aside from seeing people's pain, was when people were hard on themselves and critical of themselves. And she definitely knew what that was like, she says. She's a very chatty person. And it sounds like she's been holding on to a lot of this stuff. And the person who she's saying this to, some may know her, some may not. I may have known her. It's like she's been wanting us to know this for a bit of time now. But she says, yeah, we can be the hardest on ourselves, and it's not really fair, she says. And we can second guess, and sometimes maybe we should, and sometimes we shouldn't. And she says, I kind of feel like I can almost see my loved one, even though I'm here with you. It's like there is some particles of my being with them, and I can almost see them saying, wow, 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 oh my God, and the viewer left, but whatever. Maybe they're like, I just need to step away and take a breather because I don't know if this guy's going to give me. But then 2 people came back in, and they're like, wow, wow, wow. I have so many thoughts floating through my head right now, is what they might be feeling like. Like, oh my gosh. And I want to respect that. I want to allow you to express them if you'd like to. I also need a bit of, and the viewer left. But either came back or somebody else is there. They're like, they're saying that this loved one does struggle with that. That they are kind of like, takes them some time to get comfortable with somebody. They're like, you've just brought my spirit and my essence into things. I know that mattered to them. She's also saying that you are kind of critical of yourself and what you allow yourself to. I'm sorry, I'm just being distracted by something rather interesting. And if you're the person that's been here before, welcome back. And if you're not, then you left. Expect nothing and you never be disappointed. I really am just. I know my ability. I know I get deep sometimes, but I'm just like, wow, that all that just happened. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. I the viewer left. It's just I'm in a group. I don't know if this person is connected to. I was just sensing, but I'm in a group that's not local, but somebody that is local and said that they were in the post and also related a lot to the kind of things I've been talking about and the things that I have experienced. Made a post, and it's only loading a few posts down, but it looks like it wants to load more on a social media site. Unfortunately, there's a picture that's posted that kind of takes my intrigue of this person and I don't. However, that person, and I feel like she's still kind of here actually, and she's saying, "Okay, that's fine. I tried to suggest somebody that may have been able to be a friend to you. That's fine." She seems a little bit annoyed, but no, it's fine, dude. Sorry, it's fine, man. So it's fine. It's just fine. um, she's pointing at the screen, and she's saying, even though this has been a really long video, it's got a couple likes, um, and a few comments, which people can look at. It's not just me. Um, Kind of reminding me that there are two people who I was just able in this podcast. Well, other people saw it too, but two people that I'm kind of familiar with that got to know them a little bit more about me, accepted what I told them, and how lovely that is. She says, here's the thing, we can't be everybody's friend, at least in person and kind of in life, but we can be our own friend. And when it feels right, we can try to be a friend for others. Or perhaps even friends that feel a little bit stronger than that, like family. Or FWB. Well, be kosher. No, just kidding. um, so, yeah. Um, so that was a good kind, so whether you're someone who's already been here for a while and processed all the deep stuff or just got here, I'm going to step away from the screen for a few minutes, allow you to comment on anything that you've heard. Even if you just got here for the first time, I feel like there was a couple deep things just said. Feel free to, say where you're watching from and what you thought. And then I'm going to come and close this off with a song. It's one of those videos. There could have been a few times where it would have been like, that would be a good end spot. It wasn't meant to be. And the song, I believe I did hear this, is Shine by Collective Soul. Shine. And in the 2 videos I've done today. The commenters, and my angels have had me being very brave. Not toot my own bugle, but I think fairly powerful. Somewhat musical. The heavens have been shining down on me and you, and making this very lovely. So I'll be back in about 10 at most, probably quicker than that. And then I'll do the song. And if you comment, I will read it. And I think I only have live chat set to display during the live. Although, even though they didn't say anything about it, I think the 2 that commented, who I'm kind of familiar with, would be okay if I put it afterwards so that it shows that it got some comments. I'm thankful. One of the likes was somebody I know. I don't think the other one is, but maybe it was. I don't know. Anyway, so okay. And now it says 1, it said 2 briefly, so I don't know if it was the one that already heard this or not. Taking 15 minutes. I'll be back. I'll be playing a song on the guitar. And then we'll call it a day. Well, no. Okay. Thank you. Oh, goodness. Well, especially if there's someone there, because why not? If not, I won't. So, okay. Thanks for waiting or coming back, unless somebody that hasn't been here and just happened to come in as I came. I also decided to try and call one of my loved ones and ended up getting voicemail, so hopefully it's not the last voicemail. I mean, the thing is, we never know what life is gonna, it's something that we kind of do somewhat have some control over. So, but also kind of don't. Right. So, you're like, well, I stayed long enough to come and hear the song, but if you're going to start rambling deep shit again, I don't know about that. Neither do I, but I needed to do these 2 podcasts today, and I'm happy that I did. And I'm glad that there's been some retention and some comments and some likes, a little bit of all of it. And yeah. Perhaps we both, whether you've been here for a while or not, we just, in our life, need to take a breather. Some qigong that I've learned. My shoulders are a bit tight. So that's what they say about that, about the fascia or something or other. And then, just kidding. You're like, okay, that was weird though. I'm out of here. But either came back, somebody else is here. So you know what? It's all good. It's all good in the hood. So again, I think after doing a video like this and before the song, especially since I didn't really slow down for that long, I just need to, I think we both, well, okay, you left. And you haven't been doing these long podcasts, it's true. But I have. And either way, you've been living. You've been living a life. I don't know how old you are. I don't know where you live. I don't know what your life looks like. But again, you matter. And I'm happy you're here. And I think we both, for our own reasons, maybe need to take just a few short minutes. I know it's hard to slow down in this life sometimes. And do that focused breathing. I sometimes hear, breathe out, breathe in the tension and breathe it out, or something like that you may be feeling. I breathe in the good feelings, breathe out good feelings, and keep feeling good. And I invite you, when you're going through hard times, whether it's in a busy environment or not, I know it's hard. I've often said, oh, I'm not going to focus on how I'm breathing when I'm going through those times and this and that and the other. But sometimes you don't know what to tell yourself, but we all have breath and we all do know how to breathe. But some of us breathe very shallow. Some of us breathe very rapid. And it's very centering. Even if that helps, or right? Welcome to both of you. To the one of you that decided to stay out of the both of you. And the gratefulness of life. The things we get to hear and experience musically, verbally, the things that we get to share in the world of ourselves, as we get 2 people making it 3. Welcome. The things that when we get to truly be ourselves in all the goodness that is us, and be loved for it. Now that is heaven on earth. To be able to find the happiness, find the purpose, create the purpose when we don't have. I know the dog just took that chair. I just want to really, really quickly. This is making me think of this, and I'd love to end the talk with some good news. If I and she's visiting a senior's home. I don't know who she's visiting. I mean, that was. I'll just quickly plug whether you've been here for a while or not, or in case you're curious. I'll just quickly plug a little bit of something else that happened, kind of in the realm of something that happened in this video on Father's Day weekend in the videos. It also had to do with piano, ironically, and it also had to do with someone's loved one, someone I knew, seeing a bit of the content. I'm sorry, I hear nursing homes. I think what the gigs I get, I would like to get. Catherine, please. And then also my grandfather and Hilda, who was 106. And I just really quickly, there was, right. And then I'll play the song. I want to give you an opportunity to comment if you'd like to. We have 2 people viewing. That lady is just got great genes. Great denims, no, great genetic genes. Okay, well, that's weird. Okay, well, it's not that weird on this device. I hope that you managed to have a good day and a good week, and we're down to 3 again. I mean, this has been very long, but I'm turning into, it's almost, I mean, I am who I am, he is who he is, but there is similarities, and that's why we keep getting drawn to each other, whether it's you guys, y'all here, or whether it's me and this other YouTuber I'm thinking of. And even though he says and does some strange things sometimes, so do I. And I've reminded myself of him a couple of times in this, I think. But it's probably great. I'm glad it was good. I don't have 3 hours to watch though, but I'm sure she'd watch a little bit. I'm thinking of something I want to do after this video now. I might even want to eat a bit more, but and I know you don't need to be here as I sit here being indecisive, so I'll save that for later. It'll happen, and I know it will. I feel like it's one of my angels. I just heard say, why though? As far as indecisiveness. And usually I can tell who, but because I've done so much podcasting today and I'm a bit tired, I'm not sure who it was. And then I heard, okay. And I think that's telling me it's Clark. And it may not have been why, though. It may have just simply been why. I think that would be, but who knows? Maybe he would say why, though. I know it's one additional word, but people have their way of speaking. But they can, just like in life, the brain is, shapeable. It's, you know what I'm trying to say? This is beautiful. This is beautiful. I am getting little snippets, nothing super clear, of my friend Clark and my friend Ray sitting in a garden with gladiolas and stuff, actually. This is transpiring as I'm saying it in some ways. I sense they were together. I don't sense anybody else being with them yet. As we get a second viewer, welcome. At this point in time, meant to be here. Appreciate you being here. Even though I also sent the angels. They can't comment. You can. Well, they can, obviously. But and it's very interesting. Because my brain is fast, obviously, but I don't think it would have made this connection as fast. It transpired, and then I made the connection. These are two loved ones of mine who were very kind of, well, yeah, free-spirited, kind of very just liked almost anybody, just wanted to, even if it wasn't anything super adventurous, be busy, be doing stuff, enjoying life. And yeah, you can do that vegging out on the internet too. So I'm glad you're here. You know, he would go about with his mother in a wheelchair on the buses daily and be out most of the day. Truth be told, I was thinking recently how about I'd seen their house, and it's a bit of a hoarding. It was a bit of a hoarding situation. And he goes, well, it's one of his things. And she too, you know, she worked a lot. She had her family life, but she liked to, and she had a great job. She was great at it. You know, it was fun. It spoke to her strengths. She said, yeah, I really liked it. I hope you find that too, bud, she says. I hope everybody does. As far as indecisiveness, she's like, I get it, but I get it less from where I'm at now. No, or I get it differently, she says. That she addressed on the weekend in one of the videos, which is pretty much where I do this. Why not let other people know the healing that it can bring and the possibilities, that, you know, of its possibilities and stuff. But she said something about how she was often anxious, but she tried not to be. She was pretty good at, you know, when I was upstairs, and I think I had the laptop up with me, that concept of fake it till you make it came up, but it kind of was worded in a different way. I wish I could remember because it made more sense to me. But anywho, and essentially that, you know, she just, you know, preferred to think positive and would sometimes say to herself, well, yeah, that could happen, but probably won't though. It'll be okay. And, or I do remember she would talk like this, pardon my French, F it, let's do this, you know, as we get a second viewer tune in. And the other one's been here for a few minutes. Glad you're here. And it's interesting that they're bringing this up because listen, bud, I was younger than your friend. Not that it's a contest. She says, when I passed away, and she says, and whether you believe in this or not, like these are good points, you know, that are being made. She says, you're not going to get to do everything you want in life. Okay? So just acknowledge that and accept that. I didn't. She says, I had lots of family and friends, and I did enjoy my job, and so therefore I did enjoy my life. And I want you to always remember that. I enjoyed my life and I'm okay. You know that, she says. But she says, sorry, my head. Yeah, we're not going to get to do everything that we want to in life, but we should try to have a good time. We should try to enjoy ourselves. She says, we all need time to ourselves. We all need time to rejuvenate, time to relax, and we should all give ourselves that. But, buddy, she says, you need to get out more sometimes. Welcome to the second person that just tuned in. I mean, if I had a reason and I had money, she says, I know how much you're looking forward to something that'll keep you pretty busy in July. And she says, and I remember seeing you for that last time, and I remember seeing how happy you were in that environment. You seemed like you were having a great day or a great time at that theater festival. And she says, buddy, she says, that almost didn't happen. If I had been looking a different way as you went past, I wouldn't have seen you. And she says, and it is very special to me, even though we have this way. It's a special memory that I have that last time I saw you, she says. And I know it is to you. I think that's pretty cool, she says. Yeah. She says, I hope you have a really fun time this time. Make nice connections. If you get to do the show, great. If you don't, I hope that you remember some of the things that either you said or we said to you. Breathe. Be smart. Be careful. But also realize that what we might feel may not be as bad as we think it might be. So if anything, I hope you have your friend and her family and to enjoy the festival with, and who knows who else, but possibly a lot of it, by yourself or with fellow volunteers, she says. But and I know you'll have a good time, but she says that if ever I'm feeling any anxiety, try and live her legacy, because she knows that I want to. She knows that that's important to me as it is to her other loved ones. And what she is going to suggest now ahead of time is that I feel the feels. Okay, I'm a little unsure what to feel right now. I'm maybe feeling a little iffy. And she says, as we get 3 viewers in life, our feet will lead us where we're meant to go. And we get to decide what we do with that. I knew that I may not live long, she says to me. I had a condition that I'd had for a long time. I was doing my best mostly to manage it. It could have been worse. But I was aware that I might not live long. And that is why I grabbed onto life and enjoyed it as much as I could. People say you only get one life. There is an afterlife. So you get two, but make the most of the one on Earth that you have as well. Sure, like I say, enjoy your downtime. Relax. Take time for yourself. You need it. You deserve it. But have a whole lot of fun. And do it because I can't anymore. In the physical life form that you're living in, and that our three viewers are living in, our angels can't live life anymore. But we can. And we can live life through them, if that makes sense. She says she knows I'm thinking about one particular thing that I'm not sure what to think about something coming up in July. And she says, you'll know. You'll know in the moment. If your feet go one way and you keep going that way and it happens, it's meant to, roll with it. If your feet go the other way, don't judge your anxiety, she says. It is there to protect you. But we must always remember, as we now have 4 viewers, that sometimes it doesn't tell us the truth. I feel like she's trying to think of an example in her life, and I'm curious to hear if you have any, where maybe we've been anxious and it's either costed us an opportunity or not been accurate. I mean, she says, sometimes it will be. And that's what's so hard about it, is we never know whether we should be anxious or we shouldn't. She is reminding me and us, because when I do this, it's not just for me, that, and I'm thinking Matt's have been 6 hours. This won't be, I don't think, because that would be 3, 4. No, it's not going to be. It's just not. But I've done a total in 2 different videos about that long today. But that would be 3, 4, 5. No. But anywho, with the one particular thing, she's like, like I said, I tried to push through my anxieties that I had in my life. Not always successful, but most of the time, yeah. And it allowed me to have a lot of great experiences. But she's saying that the one thing that I'm thinking about, a run-in I'm worried about with a particular person, as we get a 3rd viewer, she says, I know you don't like confrontation. I know it's been a while, but this isn't someone you're super closely connected with or really able to be until you see them next time. She says, but you believe in the power of good communication, bud. And I know that you can do it. So how about, this is an example in my life. Maybe you have one in your life. How about saying to, yeah, but as much as she's about to suggest this, I can't say for sure. And so I do not want to blame somebody if it was her that said it. Okay, then I get that, she says. That's true. I hadn't really thought of that. She says, well, you can just treat people with kindness. She says, how do I think that person perceived me? Interesting. And how do you perceive me? I'm curious. In the context and not knowing me very well, I feel like this particular individual, that I might want to call a certain thing, maybe I don't know, as we get a second viewer, was a very, I'm not talking the Bible necessarily, but a very by the book kind of person, a very, if you've committed yourself to doing something, you've committed yourself to doing something. And if somebody had some sort of emergency, I mean, it didn't have to fall on me. Maybe it wouldn't have been meant to. Maybe I would have been traumatized, whatever it is. And I ended up there and everything was fine. And somebody else would have done it if I hadn't. And it would have been disruptive either way. I don't regret seeing that performance that I was volunteering at, and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to. But, and that was my journey. And if that particular person sees this and was the one that complained while he was trying to get out of his shift, I've been doing this for 15, 16 years. Occasionally that'll happen. Nobody has ever complained until that time. And I wouldn't have known it if I hadn't asked for a reference. Not that it would have been a super strong one. They have lots of volunteers. I almost wish I hadn't known it. But because I do, what am I going to do with this knowledge? I think you're getting what I'm saying the situation was. And she says, you might be surprised. That person might be watching this and maybe, will admit to saying it and start that dialogue, which I would encourage you to have. If that's not the case, yeah, so that's the sense that I guess she got. I feel like she may have gotten from me. He didn't want to complete his shift that he had agreed to do. But, no matter how many years I've been volunteering at this particular thing, you can't plan everything super precisely, and life isn't perfect, right? And so I didn't realize that was part of my shift. The 3 shows that was part of my shift. Welcome, second viewer. And so I should find that book. I got a free book out of it. It really wasn't, and he was complaining. He was like, "Oh, if I had been able to pick the venue I wanted, it would have been accessible," and blah 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 blah. What did going to that remind me? 1, again, nothing's perfect. 2, but I would try my hardest for my venue to be, if I was to do a performance, whether it's the one raised right or whatever, that my venue would be accessible, that it would be diverse, that people would go away from it, like with the podcast, hopefully feeling good. Now, different things make different people feel good. And some things I don't get. I don't understand how they would. And the second person, or one of the people that was here for a bit of time, and I understand, blah, blah. The other person's still here. But yeah, basically, it's not that I'm mad that I had to do the full shift. I'm mad or I'm annoyed that she said, whether it was her, the one I'm thinking, or there's a third possibility maybe, although she didn't give the vibe in the time. I know the one that did, and I know the 2 that didn't. Yeah, actually thinking about it, I hadn't realized that it kind of came up 3 times. Because, yeah, if I'm getting to usher a show at a festival that I can then see, I want to be somewhat interested. I want it to be something where I know that I'm not going to, hopefully, we can't know for sure, be bothered by the content. We all have that right of choice, right? This is a perfect example of where I think we need to accept people's choices sometimes and not stir the pot. Like, okay, you and don't pretend and then change the tune because somebody may find out. Okay, they now it's up to 4, from 2 to 4. Welcome. They didn't feel like that was right for them. I should have just said, okay, I accept that. Most of my shifts were with the other person I lived with, and so we kind of just swapped. And then, yeah, they should have been feeling so blessed that there was a little bit of musical entertainment thanks to that person, that I am nice and honestly, I think give good vibes. And, you know, yeah, what bothers me is that whoever it was, and I think I know who, they had said, they had talked to the higher up and said he tried to not do his full shift. And that's just someone who wants to stir the pot or wants to, you know, it didn't affect me as much, I don't think, in the terms of references. It has affected how I see this person. Possibly all, and it's almost harder because, the fourth thing, but it's only because I don't know. Because two of them, this doesn't, it isn't who it's about. But I don't know which of the three of them it is. And so two of them, are going by the example that I said of how best to kind of do it. But the other one, she did it. Does she feel bad that she did it? Because now, when I see her this coming year, or next month, which I might, as we get a second and third viewer, welcome. It's tainted. But yeah, I can't believe I hadn't thought. I mean, I kind of did, but I thought no, and then I can't believe I didn't think of the other one. But I again, it wouldn't be my first guesses. I think I know who it was, and I think in some ways she's just kind of a uptight, by the book. And if something isn't done right, although I did do the shift, I'll complain about it because this should be marked down. And in the time, and who knows what was distracting her or not, that she got from there to there or relayed it, she didn't tell herself, like, I'm just going to let it go. Just going to let it slide. Maybe she told herself, but if I do that, more people would do it. Well, I wasn't the only one probably that did it. Welcome. We have 3 people here now, 4 people here now. And I understand you may not relate to this, but there are things to learn from what I'm saying, I think, for myself and for you, and I'm curious your thoughts. But yeah, it's kind of like, it's affected, and I'm worried that I might have a really good shift that she's leading. Then the question is, should I do it anyway? Hopefully everyone will be there, but it would be in the moment, and there'd be lots of, yes, and I know she has, yeah. Should I do it because I want well, if I want the shift, then there's no question I'd be doing it. But I might ask her. I might say, "Did you complain to the head, the coordinator about me last year?" And I might be able to tell whether she's lying or not. And I'll say, "Okay, if she says no, I'll say I want to believe you, so I will. I don't want to make conflict or issues, but I will say that if you actually did, do you want to be avoided? Because it makes me want to avoid you. As we get a second person, it makes me not want to do a shift with you. That being said, the one type of shift would mean that I just have to be around here a little while, and then I get to go in the show. It's really a nice perk. And if it's the other type, which I'm not as great at anyway because it involves math, but you're not doing it alone, and sometimes it can be fast paced. But if it's the other type, I think I'm going to try and address this right off the hop. And I think Ray's right in me trying to do so, regardless of which of the 3 it might have been, to be honest. I don't want to plant no seeds, but, and I'll just say, the fact that I did the shift, I may have had good reason. It wouldn't have been the end of the world, and maybe in the future, try not to, escalate it, so to speak, to that. Like, it didn't need to happen.